Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Welcome to the final day of Fall 2024 Collegiate Chess League, brought to us by our sponsor, Susquehanna. I'm your host, as always, Jules Gambit. Nice to see you. This is my co-host, Grandmaster Benjamin Bach. Good morning, Ben. How are we feeling?
Doing great, Jules. This is the day we all have been waiting for. It's the finals of the Collegiate Chess League, and we have two very exciting matches today.
Heck yeah, I'm so excited. I've been waiting for these matchups. This is going to be really fun. I'm excited to be able to see SRM and Rio Grande again, but I'm so excited for SLU versus Mizzou. That is going to be amazing, so make sure to stay tuned for that. We'll go over the match format a little bit. It is 4 versus 4 team chess, so all the boards are going to play each other. The time control is blitz 5+2. 8.5 points wins the match, so first to 8.5. 1 point per win, half point per draw, standard. And tiebreaks if score is tied. We have not seen a tiebreak yet. Do you think we'll see one today?
Who knows? I mean, these teams are very evenly matched, so it very well could happen.
It really could happen. I would love to see that. Honestly, we're overdue for one. So let's take a look at the playoffs bracket. As we see, we had a very dramatic day yesterday where SLU went ahead and SRM was knocked out, so they'll be playing for the third place match. Same happened with Rio Grande, where Mizzou was ahead. First, we will see SRM versus Mizzou for that third place match. And then a little later, we'll get our final of SLU versus Mizzou. Do you have any favorites, Ben, in chat?
Yeah, those are going to be two very close matches. It's going to be hard to say who will win the third place match. I think SRM and UTRGV are close. And the final also between SLU and Mizzou is going to be a close one. I mean, back when I was a student at St. Louis University, we had many epic battles with Mizzou. We fought with them in the Collegiate Chess League, also over the board at the Pan Ams, at the Final Four. And we also played some matches for the World Rapid Online Championship, World Blitz Championship, you name it. We've played many finals against them, and now they're fighting it out against them in the finals of the Collegiate Chess League. So it's going to be a close one. I honestly give the slight edge to Mizzou. I feel like they are the slightly stronger team on paper.
You know, that is a lot for Ben to be saying because he's usually been SLU all the way forward. But they are, I was going to say, they do have such a strong team this year. They have Antipov, they have Ari and Tari, so it's going to be tough for SLU rating-wise. But, SLU also has the experience. They've had their team together for a while. They have great former captains, such as our co-host here. So we'll see how it goes. In the meantime, we're going to see this third place match. I think that will be very exciting. But let's talk a little bit about CAP standings. So this is the top ambassador schools online members. So this is the Collegiate Chess Ambassador Program, which I was a part of when I was in college. You sign up, you get swag, you get to be part of everything, get all the updates. Strongly recommend it. It's how I got started with everything. But these are the new signups. So these are the teams with the most new signups. The universities: Pawnee University, University of Benin, 313, Harvard College 306. So lots of new people joining with chess. That's very exciting. Make sure to sign up if you haven't already. All right, this third place match, Ben, what do we think is going to happen? SRM or Rio Grande?
Yeah, it's going to be a close one. I'm giving the slight edge to UTRGV, even though they lost pretty badly yesterday, but that probably also speaks volume as to how strong this Mizzou team is. They lost with a round to spare. Mizzou completely crushed them, 8.5, 3.5. SRM has had a strong season, but this is the playoffs. This is where they all start from scratch again. Honestly, hard to say. What do you think, Jules? Who's the slight favorite in your eyes?
I mean, that's going to be really tough. I might say it depends on their form, but SRM, they do have one of their strong players that they didn't have yesterday. So maybe that will make the difference. I would give them the slight edge. But, it's tough. They had kind of a tough match yesterday, and maybe that could transfer over to today.
Yeah, honestly, looking at these lineups, I feel like Texas has to be the slight favorite. They have GMs on the first 3 boards. SRM only has 1 GM. They're missing their top player, Pernash. I guess he's playing over the board. Really unfortunate for them that they're missing him at the most important moment of the season. So, yeah, I think UTRGV is a favorite. And the players are getting ready. We see them in their rooms. And for those of you wondering why sometimes we start a little bit later, it's because the players are going through fair play checks. Now, for those of you wondering how that works, in these finals, you need to have 2 cameras set up. So you need one in the front, also one behind you to see what's going on in your computer. You need to share your screen, show your activities, your task manager, So Chess.com and the organizers and the players are all taking it very seriously to make sure that everyone is playing fair and square.
Absolutely. And we've actually seen some really funny fair play checks. I think someone mentioned last time Wesley So, who likes to sit on the ground with his computer on his chair and then shows a camera of him sitting like that. So, there's really many ways to do it. But it's very important because this is a prize match for money, right? This is a significant amount of money. So, like any others, you're gonna have to have fair play checks. It's just how it is.
Yeah, that is my understanding as well. That every tournament in Chess.com that has prize money, there are these fair play calls with usually 2 cameras. Because yes, the teams are already guaranteed $500, $500 for fourth place. If you finish in third place, you get $1,000. So that is what these two teams are playing for. And then later on, we'll see the finals. The winning team will take home $5,000, and the losing team will still take home $2,500. So still lots up for grabs.
That's very true. A lot is up for grabs, but these teams are really fighting for honor. We've seen some of the coaches actually come into the chat here. So I know that everyone's really hoping to impress their coaches. They're hoping to impress their teams. I think this is a big one. And honestly, both these teams today fighting for this third place, they're hoping to redeem themselves from yesterday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because it's a real pity if you go down and lose the last 2 matches of the season, right? I mean, both these teams have had great seasons. They actually finished the first and second place of the regular season. So yeah, it would still be nice for them to finish on a high note, as I'm sure the games are going to get underway very soon. I know you just talked about the coaches. The coach of the team at University of Texas at Rio Grande Valley is Machea. I don't know who the coach is at the SRM team, to be honest.
Yeah, if anyone knows that, let us know. But I think they're probably all watching, honestly, because this is pretty important for the teams. You get to see how your team is able to perform before some other tournaments as well. So I think that's going to be big. I'm wondering if, particularly, I am Srihari LR will be doing well today in this match. I know he had kind of a tough match yesterday, but overall, he's been performing very well in the season. So excited to see what he can do. Also, we haven't seen Rio Grande a lot on the stream, so it's always fun to see them get to play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, they had a tough match yesterday against Mizzou. I think a few games didn't go their way. But the final score was just massive. I mean, 8.5, 3.5 for Mizzou. I did think they were the favorite going into that one, but I did not expect them to win after 3 rounds. So let's see how they will redeem themselves today, as today they're taking on SRM.
All right. And everyone, we have a prediction in the Chess.com chat. SRM versus UT Rio Grande. I know who I'm putting my points on. I've actually lost pretty much every single channel points I've done this entire season. So, there's that. I have no channel points now. It's actually quite sad.
Yeah, I think everyone is afraid to bet their channel points against me because I'm almost always right. So I'm just waiting for people to make their prediction first, and then I'll make mine at the last second, because I don't want people to be influenced and then swayed by the odds. So, but yeah, if you want to make a prediction, do so now. You have like 3.5 minutes left.
Yeah, that is very, very true. I mean, someone asked about fair play checks and why fair play happens mostly for just money matches, since of course cheating is bad all around. I think it's mainly just because there's more incentive to be dishonest in money matches, that they just want to make sure, and it just allows everyone to behave fairly. I think there's probably also some things in play where you want to make sure when you're competing for money that everyone's behaving fairly, which is why we have a lot of fair play checks. But I know those will be done shortly. I also know in some tournaments when there's money, there's fair play checks as well, like OTB tournaments. Have you experienced that, Ben?
Yes, at over-the-board tournaments, there's also scans that you have to go through. It's kind of like entering an airport, where you go through where you walk through a scanner. They might also scan you, like search you a little bit. Yeah, you cannot bring a pen, you cannot bring a watch. Stuff like that also happens over the board too. And like you said, make sure that everyone is playing fair and square. And I'm especially sure that that's happening at the World Championship. That's going to start tomorrow, actually. Oh, and we, by the way, have started off.
Oh,
We had some problems finding games, but here we are with the game between Sean and Arjun. I quite like Sean's chances, as he's up a minute on the clock, and he has a better position here.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Up a minute on the clock. What a start. What a start. Wow,
Hmm.
okay. Also, for you guys who don't know, I believe if I am correct, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean is was recently a grandmaster. He's from Canada. There are not a lot of Canadian grandmasters, so that was a pretty big deal. I think his handle on chess.com used to be like I am Sean Rodriguez Lemieux, so I guess he had to change that.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I guess that's why some people also create a handle with GM to make sure that the title's already set in place when they do become a GM. But he's got a nice position here. I mean, he is, oh, B6, look at that. That's quite a risky choice. And the computer's pointing out Queen F3 to attack that knight on C6, and there Sean goes. So
Which
let's
he
say black
does.
takes on C5. Maybe there's some knight F5 move or something.
If takes, maybe you could take. Could you take on f7 or some sort of tactic just to gain a pawn? Or would
Hmm.
that be maybe he has some sort of follow up there?
Right, knight takes f7, also an option. But I'm really drawn to this move knight f5 in case of pawn takes c5, because you attack the queen probably has to go to e6, and then maybe you take on c5, attacking the knight on c6, and there's a lot of tactical ideas for white. So I don't know, it looks very fragile for Arjun. I think he's in trouble. I mean, Sean is also up 2 minutes on the clock, he has a better position, so I really like his chances.
Yeah, he definitely has some good chances here. And I mean, this would be the start that Rio Grande needs. And we see the move that you suggested. Oh, okay. Okay, you take the pawn. Everything's pretty loose here. This looks strong. This is a strong start. Not only are you up on time, you're up on clock, which is why it's so important to stay up on the clock because if your position's bad, you want to be the one who's up on time.
Right, right. Yeah. So yeah, Sean is doing well. He's putting pressure on the knight. So black is defending it with the rook on a6. You could maybe move. You could maybe make a move like rook ec1 to put more pressure on the knight on c6. But that is going to alleviate the pressure on the e5 pawn a little bit. So let's see. For Sean, it feels like there's got to be something, but I can't quite see it. One funny line, by the way, is that rook takes c6 and queen takes c6 doesn't work because black takes the queen on c6 with check. So don't do that. But instead, yeah, again, a move like rook e1 gives white quite a promising position.
But perhaps you could do rook takes knight e7, but I'm not even sure if that's worth it. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I kind of like the rook c1 doubling up idea, even though it alleviates pressure. But we see g4. I think probably going for some sort of pawn push eventually, h4, g5, some sort of kingside attack. Do you think that's the reason why?
I think the main reason behind his move is just to defend that knight on f5. Um, Now, if his king would not be on g2, then rook takes c6 would be a massive threat because then after queen takes c6, he has knight e7 with a fork. But like we said, after queen takes c6, there would be a check on the white king. It's difficult for Arjun to make a move, although I do like this one, rook b6, hitting the pawn on b2. Maybe just rook e2 for Sean to defend it. Although rook b2 is not a threat for the moment, as it would always leave the knight hanging.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but I like that move just as a way to keep everything tight, and then you can move your rook to c2. I really like doubling up. I can't stop thinking about that idea. But we know the last time that players listen to me, and every time a player makes the move that I suggest, the eval ends up going down. So maybe that's not the best. But we see 30 seconds versus 2 minutes. He's almost 2 minutes up on time. Sean's got to be happy about that.
Hmm. Yeah, now Sean must be feeling good about his chances. I think he should just make a move like Rook E2, keep the pressure on Arjun. As again, for Black, it's difficult to make a move, and there's no real way to alleviate the pressure. So just keep the pressure on the board and the clock. That's usually a good recipe.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. And I mean, honestly, if he just keeps moving quickly, it will be very good for him. But I'm wondering what he's thinking about because it feels like kind of a simple move, rookie two, unless he's looking at some sort of tactic.
Yeah, but I don't think it exists. I mean, maybe what he could do, a very sneaky move, is a move like King G1, because then Rook takes C6 would be a threat, but Black can play a move like, I don't know, King H7, making sure the Knight E7 would never be a check. So I think, like we said, just go Rook E2, keep your time advantages. Now, yeah, he goes King G1, playing for the cheese, but of course Black saw it and plays King H8.
Hmm. Okay, so now is rook e2 the best option, or okay, solidifying the structure a little bit, more pressure on e5. I feel like that is a very normal move, but now your knight is forced to retreat, or maybe you can try to. It's a little scary to take that h pawn.
Yeah, as the knight could get trapped in case you capture. So he goes knight g3, but now black has the option to go rook takes b2, leaving the knight on c6 hanging. But if I would take it, there would be queen takes f2 with a checkmating attack. But instead, Arjun goes king g7, so that might have been a missed opportunity for him.
But he only has 27 seconds on his clock. And you know, when you just need to move quickly, you need to move quickly. Although Sean's time is also ticking down. Now it's less than a 30-second difference. That is much better than it was before.
Yeah, so he's still up on time, but not by a whole lot. Arjun hanging in there with rook to e6. So let's see what Sean's going to do. I think it might be a good idea. Oh, wow, he goes h4. That pawn cannot be captured, as at least the knight on c6 hanging. Knight e7, good move, as the knight was
Otis
always...
Live, thank you so much for the raid. Thank you. Sorry. Hello, Raiders. We're doing the final day of CCL. It'll be very exciting, and you just moved from one stream across the room to another stream across the room. Very happy to have you. All right, Ben, sorry, what were you saying there?
Oh, no worries. I mean, yeah, no, great that you got such a big raid. That's awesome. So Sean's definitely better here. Let's see if he can put this game away.
All right, and also whenever you want, I think we are good to go to Bird's Eye. We have all the games underway, but everything is kind of heating up here. It's a strong start.
Yeah, no, all of the games are underway. So yeah, let's go to Bird's Eye View and see what's happening in the other games. So one game has already ended in a draw, the game between Srihari L and Glebdudin. On board one, it's looking pretty even between Akin and Srihari LR. Sean is better, and then on board four, Rahul is better. So we might be looking at a tie here coming out of the first round.
That would be huge. Maybe I'll get my tie breaks that I want there. But you know what? I put my channel points on SRM this time, and you know, I hate to say it, but I've lost every single channel points I've done, I'm pretty sure. So maybe once, just once, can I have my channel points? Are we allowed to know who you put your channel points on?
Yes, I put my channel points on UTRGV, so it's going to be a close one. So this will be who's leading after round four. Again, I feel pretty good about Sean's chances to win. He's up a pawn with a good position. But on board four, SRM might strike back.
That's absolutely true. They really could strike back there, but I think we might get a tie. That's going to be my prediction for first round.
All right, well, let's see what's going to happen. I mean, okay, Sean is definitely better. Maybe rook b4, hitting the pawns on a4 and d4. But Arjun fighting hard. He's hanging in there. It's far from over. And Gajik also fighting hard on board number 4, as we're also entering into a time scramble on that board.
All of the boards seem to be in a time scramble. I think that's what that 5+2 is. I don't know if anyone in chat what your favorite blitz time is. I know a lot of people like 3 minutes, a lot of people like 5 minutes, but not many people do 5+2. And I think one of the reasons behind that is you think you have a lot of time. 5 minutes seems like a little bit faster blitz. You get 2-second increment, but when you get low on time, anything can happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The players have to manage their time well, because if you get low on time, anything can happen. As it's 2 seconds. It's still, of course, it's more than zero, because if there's no time, if there's no increment at all, there's real flagging happening. In Title 2, there's often 1 second increment, which gives you almost no time to think. Like, you need that second just to move. With the 2 second, oh, by the way, he blundered on board 3 at rook f8. Rook f6. But as I was going to say, with the 2 seconds, I mean, I feel like you have 1 second to think and 1 second to move. But you have to move quickly when you're on time.
And there's 2 time scrambles. It seems like everyone is really rushed for time here, and I just know that their teammates are watching right now. I'm really scared that someone's going to flag. I mean, it's one thing to blunder when you're low on time. It's another thing just to flag entirely.
Yeah, no, when you flag, especially in a winning position, you feel horrible about yourself, and of course you also feel bad for the team. Sean seems to have thrown away his advantage, and the same can be said on board number 4. I don't know, we might even see black at some point pushing for the win in that game between Rahul and Gajik.
Yeah, it is very possible. And Gajik was performing very, very decently yesterday, so we'll see if he's able to keep it up.
All right, Sean's game is ended in a draw, as all of the pieces are removed. And in Gajik's game, we see an equal rooking game, with both sides having a rook and 4 pawns. Let's see if that one is going to end in a draw, or one player will push for the win.
What is this the world championship? Like, why are all the games draws?
Yeah, no, we're gearing up for the World Championship. I mean, some high quality chess. Okay, let's pull up the last game. I think Gajik, he was down earlier, but he might be pushing for the win here because this pawn is a little bit stuck, the A pawn, and black can now go king of 4 and go after the pawn on e4.
It could
With check.
definitely.
No,
I
no,
mean,
he had to
someone
give
could
a
also
check. Now
flag.
it's just right. Had to give a check on a2 first. Now it's just looking very equal.
Yeah, I mean, it's also hard to look for a win in this kind of position too, because you kind of assume that it is a draw, equal pawns, rook endgame.
Right. I mean, if anything, Gajik is still a little bit better. The pawn on e4 is a little bit weak. He can try to move his king around, but there's rook f3 though to hit the pawn on f7.
That's true, but how do you really? You can just kind of keep defending everything. The kings can get, or at least attempt to get active.
Well, maybe now white can push her in as this king on c4 is completely off, and white can create a pass or h4, g4, and h5. I don't like what Gajik is doing here.
Yeah, that is very interesting. 6 seconds to 14 seconds as well, not a lot of time. It might just be who performs better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that was good. When you give the check, the king has to move even further away.
Right, but now he can bring the king back with king c6. Yeah, I feel like this game is probably just going to end in a draw. I don't really see a good plan for either side.
That's so funny if we get off to 4 draws.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a way, but king g4, I don't like what Gajik is doing. King g4? Okay, just rook e1. Stop king. Okay, yeah, king d7. Okay, now it's just a draw as the black king comes to e6.
And the king is a little cut off here as well. Yeah, they're going to play this out because for you guys who don't know, this is a team tournament format, meaning every single player is not just performing for themselves in their own personal rating, but also for their team. So even in these drawn positions where a lot of players would have already taken draws, they're going to still fight on and try to do their best there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like Gajik is still trying to win this because the white pawns are a little bit weak, but I don't really see a plan. As with the rook on d6, white is making sure that the king on g5 can never take the pawn on g4. But now maybe rook f1, rook f1 and rook f4. I mean, black is still trying.
Yeah, that's actually pretty nice. You can take the pawn now. Maybe bring your king down. It'd be really interesting if he's able to win this.
Yeah, this still should be a pretty basic draw for white, but, you know, now he's up a pawn.
All right, that is something. And that means he's going to keep pushing forward as well.
Absolutely, yeah. No, he has all the chances in the world to win this, even though objectively this should be a draw. So we just king g4 back now, rook f4. And he also has a slight lead on the clock.
Yeah, he does have a slight lead on the clock. You have to be very careful not to flag in these positions. Maybe bring your rook to f4 here, as we see. The thing is, the king can defend, and there's no real way to take that pawn. You can avoid some sort of perpetual checks, but I don't see any way to take that pawn.
Yeah, now for the moment that pawn is well protected. Rook a8 was a good move by Rahul to give some checks from behind. But now king g6 and rook h3 is coming, followed by king g check and king g5. This looks still a little bit unpleasant for white.
Yeah, it does look a little bit unpleasant. At the same time, you just have to keep everything defended, and you're good. He only has 11 seconds. Okay, now he has been gaining time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really see Rahul flagging here, but yeah, Gajik is still trying. He's trying to slowly but surely move up the board, but this rook on b6 is doing a great job of making sure that the black king can never move, but rook h6 would be a tricky move. Look at this, rook h6 is a move I like, because rook h6, it would set up the idea of f5. Oh.
Interesting. And then you can just kind of, have that pawn.
Well, I'm wondering if we'll still see it, but there was still an idea in the position, so like, okay, rook b3. Gajik building up a lead on the clock here, but he's struggling to come up with a plan.
I think this is really solid defense by Rahul, just making it very difficult for him. You do not want to trade rooks here.
No. And for those who are wondering, we are now 133 moves in. This endgame started. The last pawn capture was made on move 102. So he has, what is it, like 16 moves or so left to make a pawn move or a capture. If that doesn't happen, then the 50 move rule will kick in.
And this is why we have the 50 move rule, FYI. Because games could go on for a very long time. And, one of the things about really strong chess players is they're extremely resilient. They take their time and they're willing to fight on where a lot of people would just take draws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what Gajik is doing here. Even though the position is objectively drawn, and I'm sure he knows that he is still trying to win because he has nothing to lose, and the worst case this ends in a draw. But Rahul seems to have the right defensive technique down.
Yes. And Rashmudin, thank you for subbing to Chess.com. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so let's see. I mean, yeah, Gajik, soon the 50 move rule is going to kick in. Like 5 more moves, I believe.
Someone asked in chat, Alien asked, so are teams divided by college? They are divided by college. This is Division 1, so that means it's the 4 strongest players in each college. And it also means that if you lose for your team, you're going to have to see them at the cafe. But here we see it, 150 move rule, a draw. And we have 4 draws on the board. This is basically US Championship all over again. We'll see what happens, but it's completely tied up so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all tied up. I mean, they're playing some good chess, and if you'll play good chess, then a draw is very likely. So that's what we're seeing here, as they're all tied after the first round. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in round number 2.
So the match score is 1.5 to 1.5. We see SRM has, 2 to 2, 2 to 2. It's just updated, and it's half a. I am Srihari LR has half a point out of 1. Victor Gazlik, the other board one, has half a point out of 1. Arjun, half a point out of 1. Gleb Dudin, half a point out of 1. I am Srihari L, half a point out of 1. GMs Rodriguez, I'm not going to say what they have. You know now. Rahul and Ekan, everyone drew. That's how it goes. But going into round 2, I think we're going to see some more attacking chess. Someone's going to try to take the advantage in this round. If we see 4 more draws, I think, Ben, we should protest.
I honestly don't know what's going to happen if all the games do end in draws, because we had a prediction going on earlier where, no tie was possible. It was either SRM or UTRGV would be taking the lead after round 2. But anyway, Jules, we are getting ready for round 2, and here are our board pairings. So Srihari LR is taking on Sean, Arjun taking on Akin, Srihari L taking on Victor Gajik, and Rahul taking on Gleb Dudin. So looking at these pairings, I mean, I'm sure the Texas will be looking to strike on their top 2 boards, as they will also be having the white pieces in those games.
That's true, and that is actually quite a big advantage for the top 2 boards. To have those white pieces, they can go for the wins, and if those top 2 boards can win, then they at least secure a tie in this round. So we'll see what they do there. But honestly, anything can happen with 5+2. I think these games could have gone in a completely different direction. But I don't know. It seems like they're really evenly matched so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they're very evenly matched. I mean, 2 to 2, it's as close as it gets. And as we're talking, we are off to round number 2, as Srihari L and Sean have started their game.
Alrighty. All right, so this started with the English, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a symmetrical English here with E3, and a mysterious move by Sean. He played the move A6, so this has now gone into the Pana variation of the Caro-Kann. And Srihari goes bishop g5 to put pressure on the knight on f6, which is an important defender of that d5 pawn.
The Pana variation, that's the variation that I believe Judith Polgar used to play. Very aggressive, interesting variation here that we've got. But it's funny that can transpose from an English. I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, no, that's quite interesting about openings. It can often transpose into one opening, can transpose into another one. All right, so that's what we're seeing on board 1. On board 2, we see, I believe, a modern defense between Arjun and Akin. On board 4, we see I don't know what to call this, an interesting opening between Victor and Srihari L. And on board 4, we see a London between Gleb Dudin and Rahul.
An interesting opening, then a not so interesting opening. I think the London, however, is a great weapon for blitz because you don't really have to think. You can just autopilot the first couple moves, and it can actually be aggressive if your opponent doesn't know what they're doing. That's the only nice thing I'll ever say about the London.
Right, but to the credit of the London, it can sometimes be a little bit sharp, and we can go to that game between Gleb Duden and Rahul, as Black here has the very sharp option, to go queen to b6, but instead it was not played. Now this leads to a more quiet play, but I think White actually has pretty good chances here for an advantage, as this bishop on c8 is often a little bit blocked in.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the team we're seeing today. One of the teams, SRM, they're from Chennai, India. So this is their first season in CCL. They've been doing great. They were actually first place in the regular season, but as we've seen, placing in the regular season is more just like a warm-up to get into these quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. They were knocked out, and now they're fighting for third place. So we'll see how they're able to do, but they generally perform very, very well.
Yeah, no, it's their first time in the regular season, so great to have them here as well. And it's really great to see how the Collegiate Chess League has grown. I believe when it started in like 2020, I think it started in 2020, and the reason why it started was because of COVID. There were no over-the-board tournaments anymore. So big shout out to Joe, our producer, who has done a lot of work to start a Collegiate Chess League. But it started off with just the American universities and colleges. But now we have universities from all over the world. We have schools from Athens, from Prague, and from India.
Yeah, that's true. We have schools from all over the world. I remember when it was just US universities, it has grown so much. So that is absolutely awesome. And this move f4 solidifies the knight. They're not going to want to take that knight because then you'll have this just absolute killer pawn structure with e. Maybe you'll take with the f pawn, so you'll just have that great little pawn chain, and the king side will be completely cut off. But at the same time, the downside is now your bishop is trapped, and it's a little bit hard to know how to proceed.
Yeah, so let's see what's going to happen. f6 by Rahul, attacking the knight on e5. So now Gleb can trade on c6. He can also move his knight back to f3 or d3 or the g4. He moves the knight back to d3. So lots of tension still in this position. I feel like this game can really go either way. But Jules, there's quite a bit of action on the other board. So do you want to go back to the bird's eye view and have a look?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Right, so it seems like Origin is having a massive advantage against Akin. He captured that pawn on b7. Black is having a lot of pawns, a lot of play on the king side, but I don't think it really amounts to anything. White actually just took that knight on f4. And Viktor Gashik also seems to be having a nice position against Srihari LR. So, hey, maybe after round number 2, we could still be looking at a tie if they're exchanging wins on those two boards.
Well, it'd be better than 4 draws. I mean, honestly, anything's better than 4 draws. I'm surprised that even happens in Blitz. But yeah, it's true. We could see a tied up score, and maybe we'll even get our tie breaks. So we keep talking about like how the teams are evenly matched, and we should get tie breaks by now, but we never do.
Yeah, I feel like this is a match that has the potential to go to tie breaks. I mean, the first round already ended in a tie. This one could end in a tie as well. Yeah, it's always exciting when that happens, especially for the viewers. I remember we had once a match against Dallas, University of Texas Dallas, that went to triple overtime. In the end, we managed to win, but that was quite a match.
That is absolutely crazy. Imagine triple overtime. Like you have to get to class, but you're playing your triple overtime. Honestly, well, it is on the weekend. I hope they don't have class on the weekend, but I know some people do. I would love to see something like that, just personally, but I know it would totally mess up the flow of the stream. But it would still be a lot of fun. Yeah, it does seem like the positions have so much going on. None of them really want draws.
Right, so let's see what's going to happen. Gajik doing great on board number 3 in the bottom right left-hand corner. He can now perhaps go g4, kick that knight away from f5. It's going to have to return to g7. And again, Origin is just crushing it against Akin. He's up 2 pawns now. Black, again, he's having a lot of pieces on the king side, but it's really hard to do anything there. But I believe, Jules, triple overtime is nothing. If I remember correctly, our producer Joe told me that there was a match that went to, what was it? I think, Joe, feel free to tell us, but it was like 18 times overtime. It was insane.
I'm sorry, what? What match was this? 18
I forgot
times
which schools,
overtime?
but it was like 18 times overtime, yes.
How is that even possible? They had to be so evenly matched.
So the match was 31-29. 30-29. Whereas usually it's 16 games. So wait, what does that even mean? Like 8-time overtime? Well, four? I don't know.
This is
Joe,
why we're chess players, not mathematicians.
Joe, help us out here. How many times was it overtime?
But as we see that, we have someone pointing out the seriousness on all the players' faces. We've actually gotten lucky, and we've had a few players that we've seen that have had the funniest facial expressions. Like they can be very,
Hmm.
very expressive. I've heard personally I'm pretty expressive when it comes to playing chess. I don't have the best poker face, but sometimes it's so funny to see, especially when they mess up or blunder.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah. Also, earlier in the season, we had Alex Schreiber from University of Virginia. He was very expressive, but unfortunately, his team got knocked out. But yeah, that's one thing you see more. I think first of all in blitz chess because things just happen in the moment, right? Whereas with classical chess, you have more time to think. It's less likely that you'll make a big mistake and that you'll see a big reaction. But in blitz chess, that is more likely due to the limited amount of time they have on the clock. But also, they're sitting at home. They might sometimes forget that they are on broadcast, that they are on camera, and they might show their true emotions. Whereas in an over the board game, you try to hide sometimes how you feel because you don't want to give your opponent any information.
Perhaps we should go to the game of let's see. What is a maybe the
I
Srihari L game Gajic, unless you have
Mhm.
one that you want to check out.
Right, yeah. No, I also like that one. As Gajik is doing great. Look at this. He's bringing a lot of pieces over to the Black King on h7. And it really feels like something bad is about to happen over there. Maybe just take on f6 followed by queen h4. And there might already be ideas of a knight moving to g5 or taking on f6. This doesn't feel good for Srihari L, who's also down to 37 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, this is not a good position for him. By the way, UT Rio Grande was second place in the regular season, 2022 Spring CCL champions, 2021 national champions. Very, very strong team. We talk about a lot about SLU and Mizzou, but this team was in the lead for like the majority of the season this year.
Hmm. Yeah, no, they were. They have their head coach, Machea, leading the program. And I remember when they won the national championship in 2021, it was an absolute heartbreaker. As with the St. Louis team, we were leading for the entire tournament. And then in the last round, they leapfrogged us by half a point. So everyone was devastated after that. But yeah. Anyway, I think I'm ready for Gajik. Maybe take on g5, followed by knight fg5. Looks really tempting.
Yeah, yeah, that does look really good. And I feel like there's so many tactics all across the board here. And we have takes back and
And he goes for it. Look at that. Knight g5, double exclam. Now knight takes f6, rook takes
ooh.
bishop d5. Looks devastating for black, as there's no good way to block this check. And if you go king f8, then knight h7 is checkmate.
And then you have, yeah, that is so, so rough. All the bishops are coming in, and it's just kind of over. You're forced to sack a queen. I don't know. This would be very, very difficult to survive.
On knight e6, okay, but now taking with the rook or with the bishop wins a lot of material. Let's see which one Gajik is going to go for. Fortunately for him, he has a lot of time to figure out a good continuation.
Maybe just taking with the rook would be strong.
Also like taking with the knight, so king h7 by Srihari, stepping out of this diagonal. Okay, so let's see what Victor is going to do here. I mean, he has a winning position, more time, but he still has to finish it off. And by the way, we have a result. Rahul managed to beat Gleb Dudin with the black pieces. So that's a big result for SRM, as for the moment they're taking the lead in the match.
They are taking the lead, but here we see Gajic might get the win here. This looks like a very good position, although things could still happen. We see queen to g5, bringing that queen in. That king is so exposed. That king is not doing well there. That king's like that kid in the college dorms who's trying the public showers for the first time and just doesn't feel comfortable. That kid was me. But I don't know. I don't know what even happened there. Sometimes you get these really aggressive positions with these pawn pushes where, this is not what you want. Now you have a discovered check. There might even be probably a way to gain the queen by knight takes c5. King has to move, then you win the queen, and I think he might just resign there. Like, what does
And
he
knight
even
c5
have?
just wins the queen for Gashik, so I think that's the move
Yeah.
he's going to go for. Looks very easy. By the way, SRM seems to be doing very well on the other boards, as Arjun is having a great advantage against Akin, and Srihari L is also better against Sean, so they might be taking the lead after round number 2.
Yeah, that's true. They might be taking the lead. Also with 4 seconds, yeah, this is a little bit rough, this position. But it's gotta be so fun for Gajik to play. You just kind of love playing these out. And we see the resignation. That is a point for Rio.
Yeah, so UTRGV evens up the score. Let's see what's going on in the other games. I feel pretty good about Arjun winning his game against Akin, but maybe Sean can win his game against Srihari. That would even up the score.
That's true. Maybe they can keep it even going into the second round. That's something we rarely see as well.
I think that's what we'll be seeing here. I mean, Sean is completely crushing at knight g3, picking up the bishop, and that's a win for him. And in the meantime, it looks like Arjun is cleaning things up on board number 2, as it feels like that king on g5 is in massive trouble. Yeah, rook d5. I think we'll be having a tie. So our moderators have their work cut out for them, because the only 2 options were a lead for SRM or a lead for UTRGV, but not a tie.
Yeah, that's true. We might have to see what we can do with those channel points. But yeah, as we see, and there's all 4 results. It's like all of them are like no more draws, no draws. And we're going to see a complete tie, it looks like, going into this third round. How do you think that will influence their play?
Yeah, honestly, I'm escaping a bit of a scare here. I mean, I was really worried that SRM would be taking the lead, as Arjun was winning, as Srihari L was doing well earlier against Sean, but Sean managed to turn things around. But hey, I managed to keep my channel points, which is always nice.
Oh, it looks like we have someone from SRM University there in chat. We have a lot of people supporting the different universities. They're going to need it going into this third round.
Yep. All right. So, very up and down games. The first round we had all draws, and in the second round we had all wins for both teams. They're exchanging wins, so it's all tied up after 2 rounds.
That's true. It is all tied up after 2 rounds. We have the board 1 is half out of 2. I know I Am Srihari LR has been doing great this season, but struggled a little bit in the last match. We'll see if he can come back with that. I don't know. I don't know what will happen going into this third round. It's really exciting. I think we might see something cool. Do you have a game you want to show us?
Absolutely. Without a doubt, the game we have to take a look at is the game between Viktor Gashik and Srihari L. All right, so Viktor Gashik, he is the board number 1 for the Texas team. And in this position, he is already doing great, but he started a fantastic attack. He started with g4, kicking the knight away. Then I went to g7 and bishop g3. Excellent move. He wants to go queen h6 to attack the black king, combined with knight g5. So black played king h7, and he followed up with queen g5, perhaps with the idea to go bishop f4 and then queen here. So black played f6, but this was the weakness that Viktor needed. He dropped his queen back to d2, black played queen d7, but this allowed some devastating tactics for Viktor. He took an f6 and now played knight fg5. Brilliant move, sacrificing the knight. Black was like, well, I don't want to take the knight. He played king g8. And then Viktor's like, well, let me go ahead and sacrifice my other knight. Black had to take, and now bishop d5 check. There's no good way for black to deal with this check, as king f8 runs to knight h7 checkmate. So he played knight e6. White took the knight. Now white is up a pawn with a crushing attack, and there's just no surviving for Srihari. King h7. Viktor took an h5, brought in his queen, took an h5. The king was forced back to g8, and now knight takes c5, winning the black queen, as the black king is in check. So black took here, white took the queen, white gave a check, now also took the knight, gave up his queen for rook, as white is just so much ahead of material, and Viktor Gashik won a crushing game. But this match is all tied up between UTRGV and SRM.
That is true. And by the way, we have a prediction in chat, so take a look at that. See where you want to put your channel points. We're going to be back shortly with this third round. By the way, don't miss your chance to attend the Champions Chess Tour Finals live and in person. 8 of chess's greatest titans, including Magnus, Alireza, and MVL, will gather in Oslo, Norway from December 17th to 21st. And you are invited into the room. Along with the high stakes and high caliber action, tickets also include perks like Hand and Brain, simuls, photo ops of players, and more. Use !CCT finals in chat or visit go.chess.com/CCTfinals24 to secure your tickets now. We will be back with more CCL action right after this.
Students, did you know that you can get a discount on any Chess.com premium membership? If you're enrolled in a college, university, or high school in a participating country, you can get 50% off any yearly or monthly premium plan, Diamond, Platinum, or Gold. That's unlimited game review, unlimited puzzles, unlimited bots, unlimited lessons, and no ads. All at 50% off. Go to chess.com/students and get your discount today.
Okay.
Were you afraid of the whole country watching to embarrass yourself? Wonderful.
It's edited. I think it's edited.
Yeah, it's clearly.
But it's close to how it was, but it's a little bit edited. Yeah.
Not a little bit. It's completely edited.
No, but it really was like that. Yeah. Like the Eval bar in Hikaru's videos. Yeah. Right? Edited. Edited afterwards by the editor. Not how it really happened. Afterwards, taken from somewhere else and placed in the middle. And then squeezed.
You know, before this, I thought I would be the one getting into trouble. Now I think it's you.
Lawyered. Okay.
As VD, I would play rook e8, bishop c3, queen h4, queen b2, queen h5, and then bishop e2, queen g5, bishop f1, bishop f7, h4.
Better than Hikaru's lines. Better than those lines that Hikaru rattles out.
Hikaru learned from somewhere.
Yeah, because Hikaru likes that thing.
Hikaru was in Norway. This was
yeah, but Hikaru's was like completely off. Like I checked it afterwards with the engine. The line makes no sense at all. Yeah, it makes no sense at all, that line.
I think only the head bob was missing here. Like Hikaru is doing this.
Ah, true. Wow.
That's a good one. We have to watch again.
No, this is a good one. Yeah.
It's a really good one.
Yeah. Some good editing there. Wow.
Nice.
Ooh, slick. Okay.
Nice.
Oof, awkward. Yeah, this whole thing is like.
But I think
it's embarrassing when you play candidates and you.
He does it on, like, you know, he knows the content game. So it's not like Hikaru doesn't know the spelling of Nepo.
Joey Votto Bot is a retired baseball player who's a 6-time All-Star, damn right he is, and National League MVP. And Joey Votto has been created in a lab to destroy beginner and intermediate players. Can I defeat the baseball legend? Nope. He is going to do it, even if I attack his rook. That was actually not a bad idea. Look at this. The Joey Votto playing well. What's funny is Joey Votto is pesky, resourceful, tough, much like he was on the field. Ooh, he says, goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me. I think Joey's talking to me. He's talking trash now with the king being active, but doesn't matter if the king's active when we're in an endgame down a queen. We're going to bring it to a close. Shout out to Joey Votto. Seriously, congratulations on an incredible career, my friend, and best of luck in retirement playing chess.
Have a friend or family member who loves chess? Gift them a Chess.com membership today and see them take their game to the next level. You can choose a gold, platinum, or diamond membership for 1 month or 1 year. Want your gift to arrive on your friend's birthday or on a holiday? Gifts can be scheduled to arrive up to 90 days in the future. All premium plans include an ad-free experience, unlimited puzzles and lessons, and unlock all bots. Go platinum to add unlimited game review or diamond to unlock insights and coach explanations. Give the gift of chess today.
Yo, 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 welcome back. This is Collegiate Chess League Fall 2024. I'm your host, Jules Gambit. This is my co-host, Grandmaster Benjamin Bach, and we've got a really exciting match. They're completely tied up heading into round 3, so I know we had a few predictions going on. We'll see what happens. I know I have my fingers crossed I don't lose my channel points yet again, but I think no matter what, we're going to have a really exciting match. What do you think is going to happen, Ben?
Yeah, it's going to be a close one. They're all tied as we're getting ready for round number 3. And here we actually have the pairings. So let's pull them up. So we see that Srihari LR is taking on Gleb Dudin, Origin is taking on Viktor Gajik, Srihari L taking on Akin, Rahul taking on Sean. Looking at these pairings, I mean, again, I feel like Texas should be the slight favorite. I feel like they didn't win the last round because Gleb Dudin lost the white pieces, which was a slight upset, but to be honest, I mean, these two teams are pretty evenly matched, so we'll see who will be taking the lead after round number 3, or if we will still be all tied up.
Yeah, we will see what happens there. I think, honestly, someone's probably going to take the lead in round 3. It just has to happen, but they're so evenly matched. This might be the most evenly matched teams we've seen so far.
It very well might be. I don't remember a match that was all tied even after 2 rounds. So let's see what's going to happen. The players are getting ready. The games that will be starting first is always the one in the top left-hand corner. So that will be the game between Gleb Dudin and Srihari L. So let's see how Gleb will try to redeem himself after that loss.
Yes, and we have to thank these players for taking their weekends to play this, because they were also playing yesterday as well. So every single day of this weekend, they've been playing chess. It can be a little tough. We'll see how the board 1 Srihari LR will be doing. We'll see how Viktor Gajik will be doing. He's also been playing quite well. And we see the games are off. We have our first game here.
Yep. All right. So still no moves yet, but I'm sure that soon they will come in. Gleb is more of a d4 player or sometimes c4. So let's see what he's going to come up with. Oh, sorry. We have the game between Viktor Gajik and Arjun. That was the game to start off with. And there we see the Pangiani opening. And in the game between Srihari L and Akin, we see a symmetrical game.
Yeah, I was going to ask what that opening is there with c3, because usually, you have some sort of Spanish when you play c3 or something else, but this seems a little bit quick. Is there a reason this isn't played as often?
Yeah, because of the move that Black played, d5 is considered a critical test of the Panziani opening. That's what 3c3 is called. But queen a4, Viktor Gajik, he likes to play offbeat chess. We also saw yesterday he would often play the Alekhine defense, which, is a little bit risky, and it did backfire for him in some games. But at least he has Black thinking early on, and that's kind of what you want in a blitz game. The game is also started, by the way, in the bottom right-hand corner, where we see a Nimzo Indian between Rahul and Sean.
Yeah, and I know you're a huge fan of the Nimzo. I think you have a course on it, and I play the Nimzo as well. It's a pretty solid opening against d4. Strongly recommend people take a look at it. But you do need to know your theory.
Absolutely. And yeah, my chessable courses are actually on Silver One, so make sure to check them out. And if I'm not mistaken, Sean is still following my course. So, but with this move, knight bd7, he deviates. I recommend rook e8.
All right, and now we have, this all seems pretty standard, except usually I see, bishop d7 is, or bishop d2 is pretty rare in these types of openings.
Yeah, well, it used to be pretty rare, but it's become one of the main moves. It was also played in the World Championship last year. We'll see how this game is going to develop. Perhaps knight bd7 is taking Rahul a little bit out of book. Like I said, I think rook e8 is the main move. The game between Gleb Dudin and Srihari LR is still not started as far as I can see. But one game that's quite interesting is the game between Viktor Gajik and Arjun. And I feel like Gajik's opening approach is paying off, as he's now better, and he also has a 2-minute lead on the clock.
That's true. He does have a lead on the clock, and this has been so important. I know that SRM as a whole has been kind of struggling with time a little bit. I wonder if the World Championship is kind of like, I don't know, the Metropolitan Ball for chess players, where someone plays the opening and then all of a sudden it's trending for the next year.
Yeah, no, that sometimes definitely happens. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to see what's going to be played in the World Championship, and I'm sure everyone else will be excited as well. Anyway, so bishop e2 by Gajik. Okay, Rahul decides to take on e4. Interesting decision, but now white could maybe consider putting the bishop on c4 to stop black from kingside castling.
And that's always very, very annoying to have that happen because you have to take a few moves to prep against that. You have to take a few moves to allow yourself to castle. And in the meantime, white can do something potentially aggressive.
Right, so Gajik is definitely considering that option. He can also just go kingside castling. I assume, okay, he goes b5. Now I expect knight c7. Maybe now bishop c4 or queen b3. Again, to stop black from castling kingside. And now the king is a little bit stuck. And castling queenside also doesn't look that easy. You're going to have to develop the bishop, move your queen up, and then castle. But white has already pushed a lot of pawns on that side of the board.
Yeah, it's true. It does look a little bit difficult there, but Arjun is down almost 2 minutes on time. That is a huge difference for the game just pretty much just starting. Like they're just out of theory.
Yeah, Arjun way down on clock. I mean, this is not a good time for him. Those 2 minutes disappear very quickly as well, and then he will be left with the increment. He goes knight f4, trying to create some counterplay, but Gajik quickly snaps it off the board, and now I guess he might just follow with kingside castles. And I'm sure he's looking to open up the center quickly with a potential e5 push.
Yeah, it is true. He's going to open up the center when you can't castle. That's what you should usually do. For a lot of my fellow intermediate players in the chat, I know that when the king is in the center, you want to blast open the center as soon as possible. So you can use that to your advantage.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to open up the center because that's how you get access to the enemy king. So you want to remove these pawns in the middle. So if white can somehow open up that e-file, then that would give him an open lane towards that black king. So Arjun's still trying to keep things somewhat close for now. He goes knight e5. So let's see how Viktor Gajik will try to open up the middle. Maybe knight c4, putting pressure on that bishop on d6. Knight f5 is also an option, but it would give black the option maybe to take, and then queenside castling. So then black could castle a little bit faster. So let's see what he's going to do.
And that move, knight d4, by the way, it does several things. Not only is it a really strong knight in the center there, but it protects the e6 square, so it's a little bit harder to trade off. Because what you want to do if you're black is kick that queen out and get castled.
Absolutely. So knight c4 by Gajik on the board. The computer is pointing out bishop c5. That is what the blue arrow means. So I like Gajik's chances also because he has a big lead on the clock. Jules, do you want to go back to the bird's eye view to see what's happening in the other games?
Let's do it. I think there are some interesting games going on here. Let's take a look.
All right. So we see that the game between Gleb Durin and Srihari LR still has not started yet. In the meantime, Akin seems to be doing pretty well with black against Srihari L. But Rahul is crushing it against Sean. He has a very nice knight on e5. I don't see, though, why the computer is so enthusiastic about this position for white.
Yeah, it seems like... Well, let's take a look. Maybe there's some tactics here.
Okay, he takes on c8, tricky move. If black recaptures with the queen, maybe he's looking at a move like bishop to f5 to create a pin on the knight on d7. That looks pretty annoying.
Yeah, that could definitely be an issue there, but maybe we should take a bit of a closer look at the fourth game there, see what we can do. I think there are some tactics on the board.
Oh, queen h3, also a nice move, eyeing the h7 point and also, putting pressure on knight on d7. Looks very difficult for Sean. I mean, if you go knight, perhaps we can go to that game, as I think Sean is in trouble. He is under a lot of pressure. I think taking on e5 doesn't really solve his problems, because look at this. If you take on e5, white's simply going to recapture with the pawn. Yes, you can trade on h3, but white just recaptures. And then you're stuck with this pin on the f6 knight. And there's no good move for the knight, because you will hang the bishop on e7. So I think he's in massive trouble. White is having some big threats here, and I don't see a way to solve them, really.
Yeah, that is really rough, and you do not want to be down a piece in an endgame. Maybe you could try to... I don't know, counter-attack with bishop c6? But even that does not look great. It seems like you might be down a piece no matter what you do.
Yeah, bishop c6 definitely is a move. But maybe then a move like rook c1 to create a pin that way. He goes rook d8. It feels like there's got to be something here for white. So let's have a look. There's bishop f5 at the very least to just increase the pressure on the black position. Oh, but he goes bishop takes h7. Look at that. You cannot take with the king. White's going to take an f6 and take an e7. Maybe you can take with the knight. White's going to take here, and maybe a rook e8, even though it all looks very shaky.
It does look very shaky. At least you're down material. At most, the king side is completely wrecked, and that rook can also eventually rook lift with f3, g3. That's a possibility. So this position does not look good for a friendly Canadian here.
All right, so we're seeing that variation on the board. So Rahul is now up a pawn. Maybe just take on d7, take the king into an endgame. But the game between Gleb and Srihari has, we managed to find that game as well. It's on our way. And we can show later, but Gleb is having a big advantage. I think, let's have a look. We might actually be still looking at a tie coming out of this round. If I'm
There's no way.
No, it very well could happen.
I guess it could. I mean, sometimes you get a tie in the third round, but we've never had that before. And maybe we'll even get our tie breaks, or maybe we'll be taken home in the fourth round. But that's almost brutal. Imagine being able to hold a tie for 3 rounds and then just losing it in a single round with no chance to come back.
Yeah, so that could happen. Instead, Rahul takes with a knight on d7. I think that's a little bit inaccurate. I thought he should have traded off the queens, but he goes knight c5. It's still annoying for Sean, as these knights are very powerful. So let's see if Rahul can put this one away. We can also have a look at the bird's eye view to see what's going on in the other games.
Sure, let's take a look at that there. See if maybe we'll have another tie going into this.
All right, so Gleb is completely winning. He's up a queen against the rook, and Srihari resigns. Gajik is also crushing it against Arjun. I think that game will be over soon. Akin is doing well with black against Srihari L. And the only player on the UTRGV team that's struggling is Sean against Rahul. So I think actually it's going to be UTRGV who will be taking the lead coming out of round 3. And yeah, the chatters are a little bit lucky because I wanted to put in my prediction, but I was just too late.
Should we take a look at Eakin's game over there? That one is pretty interesting, and we're getting into a bit of a time scramble. Anything could happen. I always feel like that's when the most exciting chess happens, in those time scrambles.
Yeah, very interesting game here for sure. Black is up the exchange. This bishop on d4 is still pretty powerful. And there goes queen f6. He's starting to checkmate here, but maybe queen f5, trade of the queens. Taking the game into an endgame looks like a good option.
Yeah, when you're down in exchange.
Can put this game away.
Yeah, I'm surprised he let them trade off queens like that.
Right, I'm a little bit surprised that Akin is thinking here, as there's not really a good alternative. I mean, you can go queen c2, but then the king goes up to f3, and then you can trade off the queens with queen f5, but then the white king will already be in a better position. So just go queen f5, trade off the queens. It's not completely winning yet, but you're definitely better there with black.
And I think we spoke too early, because it looks like Texas might take a significant lead here if this game does not go in Srihari L's direction. I mean, it could be a little rough for them to have to come back in round 4 like that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by what Akin is doing here. He gave 2 checks, allowing the king up to e4. He can give a check on g4 now, but I don't know. He might be throwing away his advantage here.
He could honestly be throwing away his advantage here, but with 3 seconds on the clock, he needs to move. And even if he's able to keep this draw, with 4 seconds on his clock, anything could go wrong, especially there's still a queen on the board. There's a rook on the board.
He could even lose this one. Queen h1 check, maybe king c4, and then white can avoid the repetition with like king b5 or something. This is still anyone's game.
Yeah, and now it's a little bit difficult to figure out. He has to figure out where to put his king, but he's actually just gaining back time. You know, there's an old saying, like, if you can repeat once or twice, do it anyway. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he'll go for the draw here.
Right. Wow. So king f8 on the board, avoiding the checkmate, queen d6. We might see a repetition for now. King f8. Yeah, I think eventually Srihari L will take the... Oh, no, he doesn't. He's going for the win with pawn to c6.
Honestly, keep fighting. Why not? And he doesn't even know it yet. But, oh.
Well, you were like, why not? Well, the drawback of fighting on is that you could also lose. Just take on c6 now, and white's stuck in a pin. Although there might be a check over here. You can also... Okay, gives a check on e2. This has to be winning for Akin, but it's not over yet.
It's not over yet, and he only has 17 seconds as well. The time is evening out, but this looks very, very dangerous.
In the meantime, by the way, Sean Rodrigue Lemieux did lose his game, so if Akin wins this one, UTRGV will be taking a 2-point lead going into the final round.
I don't know. That could definitely be tough. He really needs to win this game, or at least draw up this game, and it's looking a little difficult, although the time is evening a bit.
It's definitely not over yet. Rook d6, okay, I don't see a good check for white. Let's see what he's going to do. Maybe just take an a7. Just take the pawn and goes queen g7 instead. All right. Akin giving some checks here, but he's just give a check and take that pawn on a2.
Yeah, but he's a little scared, I think, to allow anything.
Right, but white's in a pin. There's nothing really white can do. And now he should always be able to trade everything off and take the game into a winning king and pawn game.
Yeah, if he's able to trade that queen, he's going to be very happy there. Yeah, and now the endgame is, in fact, winning because that king will be stuck with that a-pawn. Meanwhile, that black king will be able to go down and take the h and g pawn, which is why we see the resignation there. And Rio Grande is taking a huge lead, Ben.
Yeah, so Rio Grande is taking a 2-point lead going into the final round, so they're definitely a big favorite. But it's not over yet. 2 points is... You can still overcome that, but it's tough. It's tough. I mean, you're going to have to score at least 3 points. I mean, UTRG only needs 1.5 to clinch this match.
You know, it is surmountable, and it might have been the right decision to not take that draw, maybe not seeing the results, but it is always good for learning to keep playing on, especially when you're in a team match. So we'll see what happens going into round 4 here. Will SRM be able to come back?
We'll see, but here we see the scores. So Viktor Gajik really carrying his team as the board number 1. He's on 2.5 out of 3. And the other UTRGV members are, scoring 50%, and that's what's giving them the lead. On the SRM team, Rahul is doing great. He's 2.5 out of 3, and Arjun 50%. But Srihari L and Srihari L are on 0.5 point out of 3. That's just not enough. So they're going to have to get on the scoreboard in the final round to give themselves a chance.
Right, and it is pretty difficult. We've been seeing I am Srihari LR was struggling last match as well, but usually he is doing a little bit better. He's not used to being board 1. He's not usually board 1 on this team, I believe. But we'll see going to round 4. Every board will be playing their other matching board. So we will be seeing I am Srihari LR against GM Viktor Gajik, GM Arjun against GM Gleb, I am Srihari L against GM Sean, I am Rahul against I am Ekin, and SRM is gonna need to get a few points here. Otherwise, with just 1.5 points, Texas could win 3rd place.
Yeah, SRM needs to score at least 3 points. If they win this last round 3-1, the match will go to overtime. But like I said, if Texas gets at least 1.5 points, they clinch the match, and with that 3rd place, I don't know. I honestly don't see it happening for SRM. What do you think, Jules?
Well, my channel points is hoping it happens, but I do think we haven't seen that kind of comeback yet, although there are first times for everything here. And we see another English taking off on our first board here. This is where I am Srihari LR really needs to show what he's made of.
And Viktor Gajik, he always plays combative chess. He's playing the Tango opening, I believe, with knight c6 and knight f6. And now he goes d6 and e5, challenging the white center. White is having a lot of options here. So let's see what Srihari LR will go for. But at least, he's getting a combative game, which is what you want if you want to strike back. He takes on e5, and Viktor recaptures with the knight.
Yeah, the Black Knight's Tango. That's a kind of a rare but fun opening. It can be a little dangerous, but a lot of people don't really know how to combat it. So you get out of theory quickly. At the same time, you have those dangerous knights, but you are sealed in a little bit.
Absolutely. So let's see what's going to happen. On board number 2, we see a knight over with bishop e2, and Gleb responded with the move e6, a4 by Arjun. So I'm sure we'll see a combative game there as well. And Sean opened up with the English opening as well against Srihari LR. So at least we'll definitely have some combative games. The UTRGV players are not trying to shut it down, so to speak, in the last round.
Yeah, that is good. They could just go for the draws and the win, but they're really going to be playing some combative chess. I think we're going to see some interesting things. And SRM knows they're in a do or die position here. They know they have to win a few games.
Yep. Now on every board they're going to have to push for the win because every draw brings UTRGV closer to match victory. So let's see how they're going to do so. We see, by the way, the game on board number 4 has also started off between Akin and Rahul plays the Tarash defense against the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, the Tarish defense, I used to play that, stopped playing it. It's a little bit difficult. There's a lot of theory there, but it's very solid. It's very solid. You get more of this open structure. So if you're one of those players who likes playing open structures, I would look at this opening a little bit more. And we see the time is all pretty much even. Are there any games in particular you think could get very aggressive? I'm looking at game number 2 there.
I think definitely the games at the top are going to be aggressive. As there, we might see opposite side castling. Well, we already have opposite side castling in the game in the top left-hand corner between Shuhari LR and Viktor Gajic. But I think it's also quite likely that Origin is going to go for queenside castling and attack on the king side. So one of those games is definitely going to produce some fireworks.
Oh yeah, especially with that Najdorf, it can be very, very sharp. And it's always like crazy seeing an equal eval in these Najdorf positions because you feel like you should be losing or winning half the time.
Well, you make a fair point there. You say like you feel like you should be winning or losing half of the time, right? So that also kind of indicates that the position is probably balanced, and that's why the computer often gives that 0.00 evaluation. But yeah, let's see what's going to happen. I mean, Arjun has very easy play. He's just pushing the pawns g5, h5. He's probably going to go g6 at some point to blast open some files towards the black king. And Gleb Duden has his work cut out for him. He is down a minute on the clock and is facing a strong attack. So I don't like his chances as the computer is giving White a massive advantage in that game.
Yeah, it's very interesting that he doesn't even have to castle and he can just attack. Those pawns are so advanced. And meanwhile, it seems like there isn't even a real attack going on in for Gleb here. Like, I'm trying to figure out what he's attempting to do with his attack, where the attack would be, but it seems like Arjun's just safe.
Yeah, so he goes knight c6, attacking the bishop on d4. I assume that Arjun wants to keep that bishop on the board with a move like bishop b3, and there he goes. Yeah, Black would love to get in move b5 somehow, but even that looks difficult. So it's Black's counterplay is really slow. Maybe like bishop d7, I was going to say, knight a5 and b5, but he goes rook d8 instead. Now I think a move like g6, it's going to be played sooner or later.
Yeah, you don't want to do it, but you kind of have to. And this could be the comeback that SRM needs. They need pretty much every point they can get. And this is a strong start for them, but still this is very sharp. Anything can happen.
All right, so Gleb goes bishop f6, which is a pretty typical reaction to this g6 move. He doesn't want to take the pawn twice because that will open up too many files for white. But the bishop here is an extra defender to the black king. If you take over on f7, black can recapture the queen. And at least he's keeping the king, his own king, a little bit safe for the moment. So I still like Arjun's chances. Let's see how he will continue the attack.
Yeah, we'll see how we can continue the attack there because you really don't want to allow for any tempo. I know that Gleb's going to want to push b5 eventually, or at least break open the center. The funny thing is that the king is so safe on e1. Usually you don't see that in the center, but that king feels pretty safe. That's an interesting move.
Which is given a question mark by the computer, and honestly, it looks a little bit off as it's putting the bishop in the line of the queen. It feels like this should give Gleb an opportunity to create some counterplay.
Yeah, maybe you'll have even some potential tactics there. Also, I'm not sure what exactly it is attacking.
Okay, d5. I mean, the computer is giving that an X, but I like that move by Gleb. He's opening up the middle, knight b4, attacking the bishop, but maybe now take an f7. Because you don't really want to recapture with the king. You might have to recapture with the queen, but then the queen is no longer attacking that bishop on c4, and that's where Arjun goes pawn takes f7.
Yeah, now actually that bishop doesn't seem as misplaced. So maybe this was his plan all along in bringing the bishop there, although, yeah, it does seem like it could open some tactics. Then you have your bishop on b3, as pointed out. That bishop is safe. Also, it does the alternative of really protecting that queen side.
All right, so Gleb takes on d5. I mean, this game is still in full swing. Anything can happen. He's threatening d4, which would fork the bishop and the knight. So let's see what Arjun's going to do. But overall, I like his chances. He's got a nice attacking position, which is what you want in blitz. And for Gleb, it's going to be tough to deal with all of these ideas that White has. Jules, do you want to go back to the bird's eye view and see what's happening in the other games?
Yeah, we can take a look.
So it seems like UTRGV is doing pretty well on board number 1. Viktor Gashik is creating a very nice attack there on the queen side with that pawn on a3, carving out some weaknesses on the white queen side and opening up some files. Arjun might strike back on board number 2. Srihari L doing well on board 3. And Akin a slight advantage on board 4 as he's actually winning a pawn. Overall, I do feel good about UTRGV's chances, but it's far from over.
I think this match will be decided on that board 4.
Right, it very well could be, yeah. So if Gajik wins and Akin doesn't lose, and he really shouldn't lose because he's up a pawn in the endgame, that would already be enough for them to clinch the match. So, yeah, I think Srihari LR is going to have to hold or something because I don't see Rahul winning.
Yeah, that is going to be really, really tough. I mean, maybe it could happen, but yeah, I'm not sure how he's going to be able to hold this.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening. I mean, Victor has a crushing attack, queen f6, trying to jump in with the queen. I mean, again, I don't see Akin losing as he's up a pawn. And it's not even a given that UTRGV is going to lose on the other boards, as now they're actually better. Sean has the advantage with white on board 3, and Gleb is winning on, or no, he's better now on board 4. So it looks like they're very comfortably clinching the match, which makes me very, disappointed that I didn't bet my channel points.
I'm so sorry you didn't bet your channel points. I've lost all my channel points, but it's okay. I definitely think that that it's a little tough. They are missing their top player, SRM. They're missing Pranesh. Maybe the match would have gone a little bit differently, but it's still not over. Anything can happen. You can't get too comfortable here.
Absolutely not. But yeah, it looks like UTRGV is clinching this match. I mean, look at Viktor Gashik. He is up so much time. He has a crushing attack. And then Gleb is doing fine. I mean, he's not bad or anything, but he's just fine. And Sean doing well on board 3. On board 4, they're up a pawn. So I don't see it happening at all for SRM.
Is there a game in particular you want to take a look at?
Yeah, let's have a look at the game between Viktor Gashik and Srihari LR, as I think we're seeing the final moments. Rook b4 looks like GG's. If you go bishop b3, that hangs the queen. King c1, queen a1, so we might see a resignation right here. And
we see it. Srihari LR, he's on half a point. Viktor Gashik killing it, 3.5 points. And that's a point that Rio needed, and now they only need a draw to clinch the match.
Yeah, so great stuff by Viktor Gashik. He scores 3.5 out of 4. That's really what you want from your captain or your board 1. So great stuff by him. Let's see if they can get that other half a point. I mean, I'm sure they can do it because, again, look at those positions. Sean is better. Akin is better as well. And Gleb also has his fair share of chances. So, yeah, I think UTRGV is just comfortably going to get 3rd place.
Should we look at Sean's board over there, because that might be where the next point comes?
Yeah, he's having a very nice position here with the queen on g3, creating a pin on the bishop on g7. f6 is a big threat, and I don't know what you should do about it. I mean, king h8, f6 still, it really feels like something bad is going to happen. Like f6, bishop f8, and then rook g1 looks very tempting to me.
And this is 3rd place, so quick reminder, it's $1,000 on the line. They're really fighting here. And I don't know. Yeah, like this looks absolutely crushing. I like what you said there, to double up. It seems like the king is just completely exposed.
Yep. Rook f4, also good move, planning to go rook g4. Black goes bishop d6, trying to trade off the bishops. Maybe now rook h4. The only problem here for Sean is that there's too many good options.
Yeah, when you have a bounty of riches, sometimes it makes it hard to decide, but he does have a lot of time. He has 2 minutes to 48 seconds, so he doesn't really have to worry about that one.
All right, he goes rook h4, hitting the pawn on h6. In the meantime, by the way, Akin is winning a knight in his game, so the match is practically over. I mean, he only needs a draw, and he's just completely winning in that one. So, yeah, it looks like UTRGV is going to get the 3rd place of this season.
They might. Yeah, it looks like... Yeah, rook h7 was really the only move here for defending, and now maybe you can just bring your rook either to g1 or f1 or There's so many good options here.
Yeah, so let's see how Sean will finish off this game. Like you said, there's a lot of good options. Again, the only problem is that there's too many, right? It's easier if there's just one good option and then you just pick that one. All right, so Rook G8 on the board. Srihari trying to fight on, but it looks tough also because he's down on time.
Yeah, he is down on time. Oh, you could just try to trade off those rooks because the more pieces that are traded within reason, but if you can trade off a rook, you're trading off a defender of that king and that passed F pawn.
Yeah, so the pawn on h6 is under attack. I don't see a good way to defend it. I think Sean is just winning this one. In the meantime, Gleb is also winning his game. So UTRGV might even sweep the last round.
Wow, that would be big. That would absolutely be big. And you know what? Getting that third place, that is not bad. It would be a strong performance. And SRM had such a great start in their first season. I'm sure they'll come back next season ready to rock. But I don't know. I know this is not how they wanted to finish their last game of the season.
Yeah, absolutely not. In the meantime, Gleb Duden won his game and Akin won his game as well. So right now, we're looking at a 10-5 lead for Texas. We saw Sean throw up his hand in the air. Maybe he missed that Queen d5 king with a check. And he's shaking his head, but he's still completely winning. Nothing to worry about.
Well, sometimes you get hard on yourself, right? When you miss something super easy and then you have to grind out the win. But yeah, he has time. He has everything. There's nothing he really needs to be too worried about there.
He takes an h7, takes an e4. I think we're about to see the final moments of this game. This f-pawn looks unstoppable. Rook g6, I think just f7. And there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, and GG's. The king is actually pretty well protected, and that pawn is promoting. Yeah, it's a little bit tough there.
He is threatening mate over here, so don't blunder that. Go like queen h4 maybe to stop that. Rook h6 you can just take on h6 and then promote with a check.
Yeah, I was looking at maybe promoting to a knight because it would have been funny, but I guess he doesn't want to risk that.
All right, so convincing victory for Sean. And that, I think with that, the match is over. UTRGV, if I'm not mistaken, has won the match 11-5. So crushing victory for them as they convincingly take third place.
That is huge. And they've just been absolutely killing it this season. They get their third place. They get their $1,000, which is the prize for third place. And SRM, unfortunately, was not able to clinch that, but maybe we will see them next season. As we see here, I am Shriyari LR on 0.5 point out of 4, Victor Gajic on 3.5 out of 4, Arjun 1.5 out of 4, Gleb 2.5 out of 4, Shriyari L 0.5 out of 3, GM Sean Rodriguez 1.5 out of 3, I am Rahul 2.5 out of 4, and I am Ekin 2.5 out of 4. So actually the board fours in both teams did great.
Yeah, and I mean, Texas, very convincing performance overall. I mean, board one scores 3.5 out of 4, and if your worst performing player scores 2.5 out of 4, you win every match. So great stuff by them, as they did very well all around.
Do you have a game you want to show us?
Absolutely. So let's have a look at this game between the board one of UTRGV and the board one of SRM. So up until this point, Srihari L was doing pretty well with the white pieces, but in this position, he made a big mistake because he has a very nice active knight on the d5 square, but he traded it off for this passive bishop on e7. He played knight takes e7, and already now black is doing very fine. And bishop e3, and Victor here started creating an attack. He played a5, and now b5, because we have opposite side castling, and what you want to do when there's opposite side castling is you want to open up files towards the enemy king, and that's what Victor is doing here. He goes b5, white played h4, and now a4. He keeps advancing. So white traded on c5, which was also a mistake, and played queen e4, and here Victor continued with pawn a3. Again, he's opening up files towards that white king on c1, which will not be safe for too much longer. White played bishop d3, threatening checkmate on h7, so Victor played g6 to defend against that, h5, and now he played queen f6, threatening checkmate on b2. All right, so white defended with rook b2, but now b takes c4, opening up the b file. White recaptured, he took on b2, and now rook a4, creating a very nasty pin along the fourth rank. White played rook c2 to defend, and now rook d8, another excellent move, bring the rook into the game, and threatening queen a1 checkmate, as the king can no longer escape via the d file. White played king b1, trying to run, but rook b4 finished off the game, because bishop b3 hangs the queen and king c1 runs the queen a1. So crushing victory as Viktor Gaji carries his team to 3rd place in the Collegiate Chess League.
Yeah, congratulations to UT-RGV. That was fantastic. By the way, don't miss your chance to attend the Champions Chess Tour Finals live and in person. 8 of chess's greatest titans, including Magnus, Alireza, and MVL, will gather in Oslo, Norway from December 17th to 21st. And you are invited into the room. Along with the high stakes and high caliber action, tickets also include perks like Hand and Brain, simuls, photo ops with players, and more. Use !CCT Finals in chat or visit go.chess.com/CCTfinals24 to secure your tickets now. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, the 2024 Fall CCL Final between SLU and Mizzou will be here. Stick around.
My name is Kelly Henry, and I work in recruiting at SIG. Our founders' love for the quantitative side of strategy games is still the foundation of our business, our culture, and our education today. We have board game nights, competitive chess teams, and puzzles placed all around the building. We have grandmasters, we have World Series bracelet holders, but we also have people who play games just for fun. I think one of the things that makes SIG really unique is that you can be a student and a teacher. There's always a game to learn, and there's always someone who wants to teach you.
I'm Michael Hines, and I'm a quant here at SIG. I was a graduate student at UC Berkeley, and I got like this email from one of the recruiters at SIG about a brain teaser battle. The brain teaser battle was really fun. I also saw that this kind of puzzle culture was really integral in SIG and something that they cared about a lot, and was also really important to how they thought about problems, which I thought was really cool and made me want to pursue an internship at SIG.
We added escape rooms to our interview process as a way for us to see how candidates solve quantitative problems while working together collaboratively. It's important for us to see how people work together collaboratively on these challenging problems because it emulates the trading environment. It's what they're going to do on a day-to-day basis if they do end up joining SIG, no matter what role they're in. It's something that we found also gives the candidates an opportunity to feel what it would be like to actually work here.
And it goes like that.
I think the escape interview is indicative of all the puzzles we have to solve here. Not only because you're working together as a team, not only because you're leveraging the quantitative skills you need to be successful, but also because the open-endedness of trading and the open-endedness of financial markets suits itself reasonably well to the microcosm of the open-endedness of an escape room. But being able to sift out what has value, what does not have value, I think applies not only to traders, it applies to technologists, it applies to quantitative researchers trying to solve novel problems, it applies to everyone here at SIG.
Puzzles are obviously a big part here at SIG. I first came to SIG as an intern, and a lot of the trader education, but that's super game-centered. There's a lot of things about thinking about games and incomplete information that SIG believes is extremely correlated with how they think about the marketplace.
What would I say to a student who knows that they love puzzles but doesn't know what they want to do for a career? I would tell them to push themselves to try this. The similarities that exist between games, puzzles, and the work that we do here is clear. We know that the people at SIG who love puzzles, who love gaming, who love a fast-paced environment thrive here. It's an environment that doesn't suit everyone, but if you love winning, if you love competing, if you love solving complex problems, I think we have great problems for you to solve here.
Hello, welcome back to Collegiate Chess League. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It is the final SLU versus Mizzou. Oh, this is the moment we've been waiting for every single match of this season. What do you think is going to happen, Ben? Are you excited?
I am excited, Jules. This is a big match. It's the finals, like you said. And yeah, we have two of the top teams facing off against one each other. It's really hard to say who's the favorite in this one.
It is tough to say. We'll look at this lineup because there's a lot of very strong players who will be fighting for this first place, which is $5,000. We have GM Robby Kevlishvili, board 1, GM Batsurin, GM Nicolosi, board 3, NM Shelev, board 4. For Missouri, we have GM Mikhail Antipov, GM Ariantari, board 2, GM Luca, and I am Ishik Khan. So I think rating-wise, Mizzou may be a slight favorite, but don't let the ratings fool you because some of these players like Shelev are absolutely killer at blitz.
Yeah, I mean, looking at these ratings, Mizzou has to be a favorite. As we see, they have Ariantari 2640 and Antipov 2600. Whereas on the SLU team, Robby is the strongest player with 2550. But like you said, Shelev's rating might be a little bit misleading as he's a very strong blitz player. I think on Chess.com he's like 2800 or 2850. So we'll see how he will be holding himself against these GMs. It's going to be an interesting match, but yeah, you got to feel like Mizzou is the slight favorite.
Yes, and not only that, I think since this is the final match, everyone's been prepping their team for each individual person. And Shelev, for example, has an opening he plays every single time, Jobava London, so I'm sure every single player in Mizzou is prepped against that. Do you think that will make any sort of difference?
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see some preparation there by Antipov. The game, by the way, between Ishik Khan and Robby has started off. We see e4, e5, and a reload pass. And we see an exchange reload pass, so let's see what Robby is going to do here. But I think, since there's quite a bit at stake, we might see some specific preparation.
Yeah, we could see some specific preparation. I would be surprised if we don't actually, especially since we've seen the coaches in chat, they're cheering them on, so they probably had a little bit of help preparing. I think that will be very exciting. We see the second game getting off to a start, d4. Maybe we'll have a Nimzo again. No Nimzo. IQGD perhaps?
Yeah, we see Queen's Gambit decline by Batsurin and Luca plays e3, taking the game into a call system. So very quiet start there. In the meantime, Robby has responded to the reload pass exchange with Queen f6, and Ishik quickly responds with d4 and bishop g5. All of this is still theory, and with black, you kind of have to know what you're doing as, hey, look at that. The computer is already giving white an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a little tough, especially Ruy Lopez is not a starter opening. It is something with a lot of theory. You really have to know what you're doing. I'm personally thinking of picking up e5, and Ruy Lopez is one of the scariest reasons not to pick up e5. There's so many lines you should know, and I think we're seeing, as you said, kind of an example of what can happen if you're not 100% sure what to do.
Right, but the good thing for Robby is maybe he has made a slightly inaccurate move, but now Ishik is also thinking, and the time is evening up. The game between Nicolosi and Ariantari has also started. There we see an Italian with a very quick bishop g5 by Nicolosi. This always leads to very combative play. On one hand, the bishop on g3 can often be a little bit blocked in by the pawns, but black goes h6 and g5, and that exposes his king a little bit. So definitely a combative game there. And it seems like Nicolosi is the player who is a little bit deeper prepared.
Yeah, he definitely could be. And we see last, of course, a Jobava London. And I would be surprised if Antipov has not heavily prepped this. His prep has been absolutely fantastic this entire season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he responded quickly. He went for a setup with g6 and knight h5. So very combative stuff there. If I'm not mistaken, I think Fabiano once played something like this against Andrew Tang at the US Championship. So maybe, I think I'm pretty sure that Antipov prepared him for that game, and he might be unleashing that preparation right here.
Interesting. I thought Andrew Tang plays the London alone. Does he play the Jobava London?
Sometimes he also plays the Jobava London. Yeah, that's what he did in that game against Fabiano.
Interesting. Yeah, so I'm sure there was a lot of prep there, and maybe he's just following that prep as well. Or maybe he was the one who prepared it. He's a second, and once your player you're seconding for plays it, perhaps you have full reign to play the moves as well, because it's no longer a surprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very interesting stuff in this game between Shelov and Antipov. Perhaps we can go to that game. Is with e5, Antipov is sacrificing a pawn, but I don't think Shelov is in good shape to take it. If you take with the knight, then black goes knight takes g3. He takes with the bishop, but now I think black will take with the knight and go queen g5, hitting the knight on e5 and the pawn on g2. So I think Shelov is already in a little bit of trouble. Looks like Antipov is having a very comfortable position and a nice lead on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we said when we said that perhaps his Jobava London might not be the best thing in this kind of situation because everyone's going to be prepping. This is a big stakes match, by the way. This is the finals. This is the last match of this season of CCL. So everyone's really going to be prepping. 5K is on the line. It could still get quite sharp.
Mm-hmm. Right, so let's see what Shelov is going to do. His knight's under attack. I think he's going to have to retreat to f3. Antipov will take on g2, rook g1, and queen h3, which looks quite nice for black. I mean, the material's even. White has some weaknesses. Antipov also having a lead on the clock, so not looking easy here for Shelov. But hey, he's up against a strong GM. Don't forget, Antipov, he's rated around 2,600. He's a very good player.
He is. And, you know, this is how you can tell a player is still in prep when they actually have more time than what they started with. Antipov is at 5:02. They start with 5 minutes. So that means he's literally used his increment this entire game.
Yeah, no, he is playing very quickly, and yeah, he's making it very clear that this is still his preparation. Shelov has to move. I don't think he has an alternative, so then just play them. I mean, maybe g4 is an option. That's the only other option I see. Black takes here, you take here, because again, f4 looks way too risky. Black takes on g2. I think maybe he's considering g4.
That might be where he's taking his time. Okay, he just moves back. And you're going to want a queenside castle if you're Shelov here. But this position, as you said, does not look very good.
Yeah, but it's not easy to go for queenside castling, because if you go queen e2 preparing that move, black has bishop g4, creating a very nasty pin on the knight. He goes bishop f1, kicking that queen away. And now Antipov is out of prep. He is paused to think, but queen e6 still played fairly quickly. Perhaps he just wants to keep up the pressure. Let's see what Shelov is going to do now.
Maybe you could go for this queenside castle idea at the moment, but also the bishop might come to b4, which could be a little bit annoying. Okay, he's just going straight aggressive, because let's not forget that Antipov's king is also in the center, so perhaps the attack is not as strong there, but it could be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, he goes queen f6, and the computer is giving that one an X. Maybe, let's see, perhaps bishop e2 to target the knight. I guess the knight will jump back to g7, but overall, it's not looking good for... Oh, wow, look at that. Knight takes d5. He wanted to change the course of the game, and he does that with a knight sacrifice.
So what is SLU's history in the CCL? I know you've been on the team before.
Mm-hmm. Right, so the Collegiate Chess League started in 2020, in the spring of 2020, because of COVID, to replace over-the-board tournaments, and we won the very first season. After that, we didn't win for a couple of seasons, but right now St. Louis is the back-to-back-to-back champions. We won in spring 2023, fall 2023, and spring 2024. So they're the defending champions. They have a big reputation to uphold. So let's see if they can do it today. But again, this Mizzou team is very, very strong.
They haven't lost one since 2022. This would be huge if they do lose this. So I know they're going to bring their A game. Okay, A6. Perhaps this is a little slow. Maybe you can give a... Should you retreat your bishop? Maybe try to put it on F3? What do you think is the best move here? Should you give a check?
Yeah, good question. I mean, maybe bishop e2 to f3 or bishop d7, setting up ideas with 96. I like the fact that Shelov is staying true to his style. I mean, he's playing his opening, the Jobava London. He's playing very aggressively. One thing I don't like is that he's very much down on time, and this check seems quite futile. Not just king b8, and the king is sitting perfectly safe over there.
Yeah, and you know, it is true. The worst thing is when you play an aggressive opening with a lot of concessions and then you just play it slowly because all of a sudden your opponent has all this time to fix their position. Yeah, I like your move bd7. Okay, instead we see a check here, which might be a little unfortunate because now the bishop does not have a lot of places it can go.
Right, bishop g7 by Antipov, hitting the pawn on b2, so therefore c3 was played. Picks up the pawn on f2. Okay, but maybe this gives Shelov an opportunity to go for a move like knight e6 to try to give a check. I don't know. I mean, Shelov, he's in trouble. Really on the clock. I think if he could get a draw in this game, that would be huge, simply because of the time situation.
Yeah, it could be big here, but this does not look great. I mean, you have to be so careful if you're Antipov because you're just a few moves from getting checkmated, but if he can hold it together, all of a sudden Shelov is down on pawns, he's down on time, down on hope, down on will to live, it can get rough.
All right, so let's see what Antipov is going to do. I mean, still not easy. He can take on e3, but White will move the king over to b1. He definitely has great chances, as he's up more than 3 minutes on the clock and has a big advantage. But, it's not over until it's over, especially against a tricky player like Shelov.
Shelov is an exceptionally tricky player. He is what my friend Kostya, happy birthday to Kostya, by the way, would call an onliner, so someone who plays a lot of online chess. He knows his blitz tricks, although maybe he's not even moving so quickly. It's 30 seconds versus 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That might be the biggest time difference we've seen today.
Yeah, it's a big time difference. He goes rook hf1, trying to go to f7. He's down a full piece right now, but it's not over yet, as this king on b8 is still a little bit stuck, and White's coming in with their pieces. Bishop b5, but the computer, didn't seem to like that. I don't know why, but rook f7 perhaps is a miss.
Okay, so how do you continue your attack here? All right, just bringing a rook in. I think that's... you don't have a lot of pieces you could bring in anymore, and you have to do everything you can there.
a4, that doesn't... I mean, I guess he wants to go a5 in case it takes rook d5. But look at that computer. Look at that move the computer's pointing out. Knight f6, excellent move, guarding the d5 square, hitting the bishop. If you take, that's going to allow one of the black rooks to come in. I think Shelov is going to lose. He's down way too much on time, and he's down a piece.
Yeah, and there were tactics on the board a few moves ago, which means maybe if Shelov had more time, he could have spotted it. But when you're so low on time, you just make any move to survive.
He drops the knight, and there we go. Antipov wins the first game. All right, so let's go back to the bird's eye view and see what's happening in the other boards as Mizzou takes the lead. So Robby is better on board number 1. He also has a nice lead on the clock. Board 2, looking approximately even, but Batsurin down on time, and board 3 looking even as well. So it's a close match.
Wait, is there now a tactic on board 3?
Perhaps so. Maybe like queen h8 or so, followed by rook e6.
Perhaps we should take a look at that game. This is Mizzou's board 2 Ariantari versus Nicolosi. And as we see, there's a huge time difference there as well.
Ariane has 12 seconds on the clock. Rook g7, maybe just take on d5. Rook e6 is a massive threat, so probably tuck in the king with king h7. But Arjun in big trouble. I mean, rook e6 looks crushing here, followed by queen e4. I think Nicolosi has this one in the back, as he's also up 2 minutes on the clock.
That would be a big start for St. Louis because that is a slight upset with boards. I mean, yeah, this looked drawish just a few minutes ago, and now all of a sudden those rooks are coming in, the queen is coming in.
Maybe just queen e5. Oh, takes on b7. This game is not over yet. He's definitely better here, /winning, but Ariane is still in the game.
Yeah, and you want to be a little careful, but the king can always hide. So the king does not have to worry about any sort of perpetual checks there. But he is taking his time and thinking, which he can, trading off into probably a winning pawn endgame.
Queen b8, there goes another pawn. That was not a good move by Ariane. There goes the b7 pawn, that's huge.
With check.
All right, if you can somehow trade off the queens, the game will be over right away. But I don't see a way to do it. But the nice thing is this king will often be sitting completely safe on that h2 square. Check. There should be a queen trade. Queen c6 or queen c8, GG, and queen e6. Yeah, and that's what he's going for.
Yeah, and he sees it.
All right, so Nicolosi is going to win this game. All right, so the score is all tied up.
Yeah, the score is all tied up starting out. And meanwhile, we have our last 2 games, which will be where the advantage comes if there is going to be an advantage. And there is a time scramble on Robby's board.
Yeah, Robby's game is in a time scramble. He is now worse, but Batsurin is crushing it on board number 3. Look at those pass pawns marching down the board, supported by those 2 bishops. So SLU's winning there. And Robby is now... Oh, wait, the evil bar is swinging back and forth. I don't know. We might see SLU taking the lead or a tie coming out of the first round.
It is definitely possible, no matter what happens here, because it's a time scramble. Anything can happen. Also, someone could even flag.
I think Robby is doing well now. He has 3 connected passers on the queen side versus 2 connected passers for white on the king side. And that B pawn is gonna run quickly. B3, B2. I think Robby has this.
Yeah, he might definitely have this, and that pawn is going to be very difficult to stop. You're going to lose a rook the game, and that means SLU would be in a lead going into the first round.
Right, and that could even be a oh, wait, this game is far from over. Look at that G pawn moving down the board. This is critical. Rookie and Robby stopping it, but I think practically it looks easier for Black to play as you just push the pawn. Oh, but White's also just pushing his pawns.
And he might be in time.
Wow, what's going on? He sacrificed rook and goes f6. What is going on?
No, that is some tactics there, because you're going to have to end up sacrificing your rook too, and maybe that knight will be in time. I mean, it's crazy that the eval's even here.
Right, okay, so knight a1, great move by Izek. Robby apparently has to go rook c1, allowing white a queen. You take over here, but good luck spotting that, and he misses it. Now rook c1 is a little bit too late, and Izek might win this game to even up the match.
And did you just see Robby's face when he realized that he messed that up? It is so difficult. You have the queen now, you have another pawn. Gotta be a little careful, but oh, he looks so upset.
Yeah, he's losing now. Okay, it's not over yet yeah, but I mean... Oh, rook c5, he blundered! And Robby's even winning! What?
No way! And look at his face, he's just like shocked. Do you see he just did a little hand motion? Oh my.
That went from completely losing to completely winning. What a turnaround.
And that's one of
yes.
That's one of those luck things. Every now and then the chess gods help you out a little bit. And look at that graph. Winning, losing. And he manages to take that point. Maybe he's earned some good chess karma over the years, because that was needed to give St. Louis the advantage.
That is huge. St. Louis now takes a 2-point lead coming out of the first round. It's still a long match, but this should have been a tie. I mean, Izek was completely winning, but he put the queen on the same line as the king, allowing Robby a skewer.
Yeah, that is rough. And it definitely happens. Robby had to be really quick with those tactics. But yeah, I don't know. That was one of those moments where everything went right. And as we see, it is 3-1 St. Louis. That is quite the lead for St. Louis going in, 2-point lead. And Batsurin gained the point. Nicolosi gained the point. Shelev lost. But Tari lost. Luka lost, giving St. Louis the 3-point lead. We'll see if they're able to come back here in round 2. It was almost completely tied up.
Yeah, really the difference maker is Nicolosi, the board 3 beating board 2, the strongest player on the Mizzou team. That is what's giving St. Louis the lead. The fact that Shelev lost is fine. I mean, he was the board 4 playing against the board 1. And of course, there was a huge turnaround in Robby's game. Yeah, so St. Louis takes the lead, perhaps somewhat surprisingly. Let's see if they can keep their lead, as here we have the pairings in round number 2. Robby taking on Luka, Batsurin taking on Izek, Nicolosi taking on Antipov, and Shelev taking on Arion Tari. What a start of this match, Jules.
That is going to be crazy. I'm wondering what's going to happen going into this round 2, if they're going to be able to even it out, especially since it seems like these teams are so evenly matched.
Right, so yeah, a big leader for SLU. I mean, a 2-point lead is definitely significant. It's far from over, so let's see what's going to happen in round number 2. I think the players will not take any crazy risks just yet. I mean, they'll just play normal chess. Only in the last round, if you're behind by a big margin, that's where we see the players potentially going a little bit crazy, but I don't think we'll see anything of that just yet.
Yeah, that is true. They might go a little crazy in that last round if they need to gain back some points, but still we're going to see some solid chess. It seems like that's the style of most players on these teams anyway. And it's been working out pretty well for them.
All right, so here we have a French with 92 by Robby. I think the capture on c5 is slightly inaccurate, as now Luka could have recaptured with his bishop in one go from the f8 square. All right, so Robby a little bit better here. That pawn on d5 is a little bit weak. And one plan that white has here is to go bishop e3 to d4 and then knight e3 to slowly but surely corral that pawn and put some pressure on it. The game between Batsurin and Izek has also started off, and there we see a Slav.
Slav, very solid setup. Hard to really do anything with, but in Blitz, even the most solid of setups sometimes can get a little bit sharp.
Right, and Robby is going for that aforementioned plan with bishop e3 to d4, followed by knight e3. I like his position. He's a little bit better, also up half a minute on the clock. And Batsurin went for a quick queen b3, hitting that pawn on b7.
What is this camera view with Luca there? That's so funny. We see him just like in silhouette with his computer. He looks like a programmer who's been up all night.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised as well. Now, as we mentioned before, the players are having two cameras because this is a big match, also with prize money on the line. But usually they would show his first camera where you can actually see his face. So maybe we can still see that later. The game between Antipov and Nicolosi has started off as well. There we see an Italian opening. Antipov is a big expert in deadline because he's prepared so many games for himself and for Fabiano in that opening. And the game between Arjan Tari and Shelov has also started off, where we have a 4 knights with an early a3 by Tari.
Okay, so all very, very solid. And Shelov unfortunately cannot play as Joe Baba London because he's playing with the black pieces. RIP. But we'll see how that goes.
And what I really like by Shelov is that usually when your opponent plays a move like a3 on move 4, he tries to take you out of his preparation, but that was not at all the case. Shelov knows everything. Knight takes e5 here, I think, equalizes, because if you take on d7, black can recapture with the queen, and you're actually threatening checkmate on d1. So Shelov with some great opening knowledge here.
Opening knowledge, great tactics. I mean, that is one thing he's very, very good at, is those tactics, and he definitely has been prepping, you can tell. It's especially since his time is pretty high right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think queen takes d7 here is the move. Again, white cannot take the knight on e5. They'll allow checkmate on d1. Knight takes d7 also possible, but looks a bit passive. You can take with the rook, but it takes with the queen, which I think is the right move. And Arjan instantly castles.
Instantly castles. Now you want to move your knight or solidify it with f6, something of the sort, or trade. And bishop comes out. All of a sudden, you're going to have this pawn storm that we see a lot. That's kind of an interesting move because I thought it would allow like a quick b4, but perhaps that's not something we're very afraid of.
Yeah, I think he can just move the bishop to d4 or b6. Looks completely fine for black. So really like here what Shelov is doing. He's facing the highest rated player on the Mizzou team. Bishop g5 attacking the rook on d8. Maybe just f6 to deal with that. I guess Arjan is looking at rook 81. And I'm wondering... No, I was looking at this move, bishop takes f2, but I think I can just take with the king. I don't think that works.
It's always tempting. By the way, Mizzou is the 2021 Spring CCL champion, 2024 Pan American champions, 2024 national champions. They have a good team, especially this year. So they're very strong. Definitely not a team to be underestimated.
Absolutely, and this has really been their year. Like I said, they won the Pan Ams, they won the Final Four, so they're looking to take the triple by winning the CCL as well. But, you know, the last 3 seasons, it's been all SLU. So let's see if Mizzou can change that trajectory, or if SLU can keep the dynasty in place.
Yeah, they haven't lost one of these finals since I believe it was like 2022 or something. So they definitely have a lot to live up to here. And we see this counterattack on the queen. So it's not an oh no, my bishop moment. But the queen moves going for a trade, which is a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I feel like this should give Arjan a very slight advantage in the endgame, as black will get double isolated pawns. A little bit unnecessary perhaps by Shelov to allow that trade. Arjan is considering his options. Maybe he wants to keep the queens on the board with a move like queen f5 or queen g4. But I think he should just take the game into the endgame and try to grind it out over there.
And this is sometimes when you're the slightly lower rated player or the lower rated board, you want to go for a draw by going to the endgame. But I think that's often wrong because endgames have a lot of subtleties, and where you have the best chances is in those attacking positions.
Right, so we'll see how this game will play out. I mean, Arjan a little bit better, but Shelov will try to hold. Perhaps let's go back to the bird's eye view to see what's happening in the other games.
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right, so Robby seems to be a little bit better against Luca. Again, black has that isolated pawn on d5, but the b5 pawn of Robby is also a little bit weak. Board number 2 looks pretty even between Batsurin and Izhik. Antipov is having a massive advantage against Nicolosi, and Arjan having a slight advantage against Shelov. I don't like that move a5, because now a4 by Arjan, fixing the a5 pawn as a weakness. So Mizzou could be looking to strike back in round number 2.
They could, and I think the games that are pretty interesting thus far is, I think Izhik's very interesting, has a very interesting game. Nicolosi has a very interesting game. Is there one in particular you like?
I think Nicolosi is in big trouble. Look at that knight on h5. I think it's just trapped. I don't see a good way to defend it. I think Antipov is doing some great work here for the Mizzou team.
Oh, yeah, and he has one of the best scores of the entire season. We talked to him yesterday a little bit. He was very humble about it, but he's been playing great. His prep is great, and I think his style is very well suited for this kind of format.
Yeah, no, he plays very aggressive chess with white and with black, often putting a lot of pressure on his opponents. Nicolas trying to hang on there with the move bishop f7, but it really feels wrong for black. So again, let's see what Antipov is going to do, but it feels like there's got to be something decisive for white. Maybe take an f7, followed by e6, rook e7, knight h4 looks winning as a knight on h4. Oh, there's still queen e8 there, but again, there's got to be something for white.
Yeah, there really does have to be something for white there. I'm wondering, perhaps just, yeah, as you said, just opening up this king side a little bit, pushing your pawns, and we see it there. That g6 square is going to get exceptionally weak, I think, at some point.
Right, so queen e8 by Nicolas defending the knight on h5, but now Mikhail has the opportunity. Well, I mean, g4, maybe black can take on e6. Take, you take on h5, and then you take on h3. Still, it's not over yet, and if you go knight f5, which is what he plays, now black can take on e6. Yes, I mean, you take on h5, queen e1, there's just king h2, so it's probably just completely lost for Nicolas, which is why the evil bar is all the way up.
Yeah, it could absolutely be. And I'm wondering, if you're born with a name like Mikhail, you have to like be a great chess player immediately. There's no choice.
All right, so I think Mizzou is doing some great stuff in this round. They're down by 2 points, but looks like Antipov is winning this game. Tari is a little bit better against Shelev. The game between Batsurin and Ishik is even, and Robby is a little bit worse against Luka. So this round is not looking good for SLU so far.
Yeah, perhaps they'll be able to even up or even get the slight advantage. When we said these teams are very evenly matched, it's also the type of evenly matched where it could go either way in any round. I'm not sure who I would put on predictions there, but yeah, it looks pretty difficult.
All right, so Antipov wins the knight. Now Nicolas can give one check, but I think that's all there is to the position, king h2, and I don't see anything. I think white is going to continue the attack with queen g6, so black is just completely lost. Antipov is very likely going to win this game. Take Mizzou back into the match a little bit, and yeah, we will see if SLU can keep their lead, or if Mizzou is going to tie it up or even overtake them.
Yeah, that win is good for Mizzou. I'm looking at where perhaps SLU could get the point back. There are a lot of very sharp games going on. Isaac Dambasurin's game was very, very sharp. Shelev, I think if he might be able to hold the draw, but it's a bit difficult in his position currently. Where do you think SLU could get the point back if they do?
Right, yeah, so let's point out one thing real quick. I mean, look at Antipov's accuracy. He's at 99.5, but I think we should go back to the bird's eye view to have a look at all of the other games, as I think this game is about to be over. Antipov is crushing it, but if we look at the bird's eye view, I think Batsurin has good chances to win his game against Ishik. He's opening up files on the king side, but he's getting a little bit low on time. He has 55 seconds against 136. Robby's game probably a draw now after rook d1, or Robby's going to have to defend an unpleasant rooking game. That doesn't look like a whole lot of fun.
I think we should take a look at Ishik's game. I feel like that's about to get very interesting. Anytime you have a very aggressive position where one player has a slight lead, but they're down on time, you get some crazy chess.
Yeah, e4, the right move by Batsurin, but it took him a lot of time. He wants to open up that h-file to attack the black king. Simply take here, queen h3, and checkmate. Not easy for Ishik to deal with that, so this would be a nice game for SLU to strike back a little bit, as it really seems like Mizzou is hitting hard in this round.
But this is actually a very difficult position. You have to be incredibly accurate before, right? And then a5, the pawn storms are going to be coming, and you have to make sure that you're ready for it. But then again, if you can kick that knight, you're going to have that really nice h-file. That queen can slide in on h7. It's kind of everything you want.
Right, and look at Ishik's clock. He's now also getting down to 50 seconds. We're entering into a time scramble. All right, so okay, so Antipov is crushing it. He's going to win his game, and he just did. So now it's 3-2 for SLU. I think Aryan has great chance to win his game. Robby is suffering a little bit in an endgame, but I feel like he should hold. This is a big game. I mean, if Batsurin wins this one, SLU will at least keep the lead.
And he takes on h4, which seems a little bit odd. Because I feel like you're going to get your knight into a kind of sticky situation there.
All right, he goes
with
knight
maybe
h7
g5.
to hit the pawn on g5. Batsurin could maybe even take or f4 to defend that g5 pawn. Lots of options, but he's getting super long time. 19 seconds. Okay, maybe e5, try to break up that pawn chain.
Well, and then you just keep pushing, and yeah, I don't know. That could be a little bit rough. That rook's going to come in soon. Maybe you can double up, and the knight will have nowhere to go without the king getting checkmated, so he has to be very careful.
Knight f8 on the board by Ishik. He wants to go knight g6. Okay, queen h3 by Batsurin. Knight g6 can now always be kicked away by f5. I think Batsurin's going to win. This position looks unholdable in a blitz game. You're just getting checkmated. That's just kind of what happens here.
Yeah, maybe in classical you could find something, but this is very tough in blitz. As you said, it's very sharp. You just take free piece.
Okay, he goes f5, trying to create an escape route for the king. Maybe like bishop f3 here is strong. Setting up ideas of bishop e5 to... Oh, gives a check. Okay, so take. He wants to pick up the rook on ca, which, yeah, is absolutely winning for white.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're in these blitz scenarios, even if there's something really, really good, just take the extra piece. I've been there, done that. You never want to mess up and think there's checkmate and all of a sudden you're down material. But this looks completely winning.
Yeah. Ishik's still fighting on, though. He's trying to make it difficult for Batsurin, but maybe just a check on c3 and rook g1 looks pretty convincing. Yeah, this has to be a win for SLU. Check, rook f1. This is about to be, or not rook h4, it hangs a full rook.
I was tempted by that too, and then I noticed. But the thing is, the queen can't get in very easily, so you have to find out where to give this checkmate. And you have to find out a way for that queen to get in, which is why it goes back down. Oh yeah, picking up a queen. And you see it on his face as SLU takes a point.
Right, okay, so there's one more game ongoing in this round. Mizzou won in the games between Aryan won and Mikhail Antipov won. So this is the last game of the round, but it looks like it should be a draw. Yeah, because this pawn is going to promote, but Robby has his own pawn that he's going to push forward. So SLU will be keeping a 1-point lead going into the second half.
A 1-point lead is not the end of the world there, but you know, I think that we'll see a lot of interesting things are going to happen in round 3. It could go either way. This was a good round, though, for SLU.
I mean, I think it was a good round for Mizzou because they were down by 2 points before this round, and now they're only down by 1. But it is nice for SLU that they do keep their lead. And, well, it's also nice for Mizzou that they cut into that lead a little bit. So it's only 1 point separating the two teams. Still, anything can happen, but SLU right now having a slight edge.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to come back, but they're going to be able... This is more than doable. We've seen more than that. But as we see, it's 4.5 to 3.5. Mizzou, great round. Antipov, 2 out of 2. He's been performing amazingly. Ariantari, 1 out of 2. Got a point against Shelev. I don't know. I think round 3, anything could happen. Mizzou could come back. SLU's been absolutely killing it. I don't know. Do you have any early predictions, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think for St. Louis and for Mizzou, it really depends on how their board force will do in the second half. I mean, we see Shelev and Ishik are still on 0 points. If they can get on the scoreboard, get some points, that could be the difference maker. So let's see who of those two will do it.
Do you have a game you would like to show us?
Absolutely. The game, without a doubt, of round number 2 was the game between Mikhail Antipov and Nicolas Checa. So Antipov opened up with e4, his bread and butter. And we see e5 by Nicolas, and this game opened up with an Italian. So Antipov has done a lot of work here, both for himself and for Fabiano Caruana, as he's one of his seconds. And he is playing very quickly, as we see. He's staying over the 5 minutes that you start with. h3, bishop a4, and he goes d4, creating a big center. All right, so Nicolas goes knight g6 and bishop c2. And already here, white is having a very comfortable advantage because he has such a nice center here. And Nicolas goes for an interesting option. He takes on d4, followed by d5. Because after e5, he wants to go f6 to put pressure on the center. But this is always risky, especially when you've played the move h7, h6. Because look at that knight on g6, it's pretty loose. and Antipov takes advantage of it with the move knight h5. Great move by him. Nicolosi takes, but now after bishop takes g6, the knight on h5 is simply trapped. I mean, it cannot go anywhere. So Nicolosi goes bishop f7 to try to save it. Antipov takes and goes e6, attacking the rook. Rook e7 and knight h4, hitting the knight on h5 and threatening knight f5. So queen e8 to defend the knight, but now knight f5. And there's too many problems here for black. The rook on e7 is under attack. Black took the pawn on e6, but now after takes, the knight on h5 is hanging. White's up a piece, and white is also having an attack on the black king. So Nicolosi gave a check, king up. Queen g6 was a good move, but this as well, sacrificing the knight. He gave a check on g6. He took on h6, gave a check over here. Took another pawn, gave a check on f7, and bishop g5. Excellent move by Antipov to finish things off. Bishop f6 is a threat, the queen is under attack, so absolutely crushing victory for Antipov as he brings Mizzou a little bit closer back into this match.
What a crazy accuracy. You look at that, 96%. What will happen after round 3? Stick around, find out right after this break.
Great time here. You enjoy the commentary? We pulled you on the couch today. You finally got on the couch.
Last cookie.
No, it's my cookie.
Anish, this is my cookie. I worked all week for it.
It's my cookie. I told you, right? You did say you wanted it right before you got here.
I didn't hear about that, Danny.
You both want the cookie then?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, how are we going to send it? Who's higher rated?
I didn't know you guys act so bad. It's such terrible acting.
Things you do for money, I mean.
All right, FIDE rating.
Who cares about the FIDE rating? No one cares anymore, man.
Okay, let's settle this on the chessboard.
Let's go.
All right, let's
go.
Such
bad acting. Oh my god.
That period, I needed money, guys. That period, I was desperate.
You're clearly not born to act.
I lost the semi-final of GCC, so I really need money at the time. I just heard the news, I have another challenge coming. And then Daddy, he offered me to make this video. And I was like, how bad it's gonna be.
But that doesn't justify the bad
acting. Yeah, I know, it was terrible.
Like,
it's terrible.
My cookie? My cookie?
No, okay, the script was amazing, but the acting just ruined everything.
The script also, right?
I'll set the clock.
Let's settle it on the clock, yeah, for a cookie.
Bro.
Oh, you guys are gotta be kidding me. Switch colors, play again.
Again, a draw.
I guess. Yeah, that was a draw. How did you like the scripted document? We scripted the final combination. How did you like it? Cool, huh? Some nice touch, classy.
All right.
Just like the script, I think.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, but the final scene is really bad.
Let's go.
The happy ending, so-called.
Oh my God. You guys are hopeless. Okay, we're arm wrestling. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go. Come on, Fabi, we just did a bunch of push-ups. You guys, this is insane now. It's a cookie. We're taking it to Twitter.
Twitter battle?
Most likes wins.
Which is so
It was rehearsed. It was rehearsed, okay? It was rehearsed.
So cringe.
I think it was the highlight of the video.
So cringe. It's extremely cringe.
Look at that chicken.
Look at that.
Can I please have a cookie?
Yeah. There you go.
Thank you.
You want it?
Awful. In my head it was better, Awful. No, I told you.
Has Sopiko seen this? It's so cringe. I'm not doing I'm not stooping this for cookie. I think we should watch this again, the video.
No, enough, no. Oh, can I please leave? So bad. That's why I have a Chess.com contract and you don't with it.
At what cost?
Looking to deck out your closet this fall, or a gift for that person who loves chess? We've got you covered in our all-new merch store. Literally. Never forget that it's always chess o'clock somewhere, with clocks in a brand new colorway. And keep your mouse speed on point with a classic green or bubblegum pink mouse pad. Oh, Middens wants to say something too. She says, check it all out at chess.com/shop. And yeah, you might want to do what Middens says.
Let's explore game review.
FIDE master Andre Mendez met his legendary opponent, Levon Aronian Sicilian, with 3 bishop to b5. While not normally a fearsome line, this choice led to a nice advantage for Mendez when Aronian blundered with queen to c7. The advanced g4 was a great move that won Aronian's knight, since retreat would have allowed the winning knight lead, knight to d6 check. Still, even up a piece against a monster like Aronian, you can never count your chickens before they hatch. Aronian set a devilish trap and induced a blunder in return when knight to f1 allowed b5. The incredible point was that queen a5 would be met by the brilliant shot bishop to b4, trapping the queen, since queen takes b4 runs into c5, threatening both checkmate and the white queen. Aronian equalized and took the game into a double rook endgame. There, his advancing g and h pawns and active rook increased the pressure, and he began to build up a clear advantage. In the end, the great moves, h4 check and h3 check, were decisive, as Aronian ended by preparing devastating checkmating ideas on the h-file. This game is a great example of why you should never give up. Resources lurk in every position. Run game review on your own games to see what you might be missing.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Collegiate Chess League. This is the last match of the season, and we're going into round 3, SLU versus Mizzou. There is a 1-point lead for SLU, but anything can happen. Round 3 is starting to be exciting, especially since we're going to have some cool matchups here. Do we want to take a look at that, Ben?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's have a look at the matchups for round number 3, as this is a super close match. St. Louis, perhaps somewhat unexpected, is having a 1-point lead. But look at this. Robby, the board 1, is playing Ariantari. Board 2 for Mizzou. Then we have Batsurin playing Antipov, Nicolosi playing Izek, and Shalev playing Luka. All right, so the board 1s are playing the board 2s, really the big dogs taking on one another. And we've talked about it before. Both board 4s on the SLU and Mizzou team are still on 0 out of 2. So this might be an opportunity for them to get on the scoreboard.
That means pretty much everybody has been playing as expected, but there's always room for upsets here, especially as you said, now the rounds are a little bit closer. So we'll see what happens here. I'm especially excited for Tari versus Kevlishvili. I think that's going to be an interesting game. And we see a start with e4, e5. Maybe we'll go into a Roy. Or maybe Italian. What do you think?
Well, we see Scotch opening by Arian. Right, we saw in the previous round, he played the 4 knights with a3, but it didn't quite work out. He didn't get anything from the opening. Now he goes for this line with knight at d2. If I'm not mistaken, bishop c5 is the move, but Robby perhaps is out of book here. d5 is an option as well, and that's what Robby goes for.
Yeah, and as we see, going for that, kind of a unique opening here for higher level chess, but you do see it sometimes. You do get interesting open positions where, you know, it can be pretty solid. Anything can happen.
Yeah, white is perhaps considered to be a tiny bit better here because white has 2 pawn islands, one on the queen side, one on the king side, whereas black has 3 pawn islands. Right, he has those c and d pawns, the a pawn, and the pawns on the king side. White also has pretty easy piece play, but it's not much. It's not much. So we'll see if Arian can really put some pressure here on Robby. The game on board 2 has also started off which was a Caro-Kann defense, Antipov having the slightly better pawn structure, but Batsurin having the bishop pair. One thing though is that Antipov again is playing super quickly. He might still be in book.
He could still be in book. By the way, we have a prediction in the Chess.com chat. I personally lost all my points. It is what it is. But I recommend you go and take a look at that. We'll see what will happen. I still think this is a pretty undecided match.
Yeah, and it's actually the last prediction of the season. Robby, by the way, offering the queen trade in the meantime. And the last game has also started off. And I'm sure that Shalev is going to unleash his Joe Bava London. And there we go. Knight c3 is on the board.
Amazing. Yeah, and I'm sure everyone has prepared for it. So I'm wondering to see if even with a lot of prep, he can still get a good position. You know, with time management, maybe he could have gotten a good position against Antipov. So it is possible.
And a very early bishop b4 by Luka. So we'll see what's going to happen there. On board 3, by the way, we see an Italian opening with a very quick c3 and d4 by Nicolosi. So interesting play there as well. Yeah, I feel like really anything can happen in all of these games, but it's still, of course, very early.
And I think Nicolosi's in prep because he has a lot more time than we started. He's pretty much been almost pre-moving every single move, it looks like, just to be on 5 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah, he's played very quickly. And the same can be said for Antipov, who is just below that 5-minute mark, but he doesn't seem to have achieved that much out of the opening. Again, Batsurn, he has that isolated pawn on d5, but he has the bishop arrow, so I feel like Black should be doing pretty fine.
Yeah, that's true. He should be doing pretty fine there. And it's all still starting out, but these positions look very solid. I'm not sure. Is there any you think could get explosive?
Well, let's see. The game between Aryan against Robby is going to be a little bit slow for the moment. We will very likely go into an endgame where, again, White's a tiny bit better. That pawn on c6 can be a target, like let's say trade on f3, then the knight can jump to e5 or d4. Queen a6, interesting decision by Batsurn. I don't know if I like it, but Antipov decides not to take on a6 himself. I feel like that one's going to be slow. Maybe Shelev's game. I don't know. I think we'll see I don't think we'll see anything explosive.
And that makes a lot of sense because since it's a very even score, no one really needs to play all out. They don't want to risk maybe the gap widening or anything like that. So they can just play solid chess, play their best chess, and maybe hope to get a point or two.
Right, and yeah, the last prediction of the season is going on. Those channel points, I just put 250,000 channel points on SLU, on my alma mater. Let's see if they can get it done. Again, this is it. I mean, 2 more rounds to go, and it's as close as it can get.
Chess on Earth, thank you for subbing to Chess.com. Appreciate it. Yeah, whenever I see the channel points predictions jump by like 200K, I know it's you, Ben.
Right. Yeah, that's also what I did when I was a player. I would just put all my channel points on our own team, of course. All right, so let's see what's going on. So the game between Aryan Tari and Robby looking very even. Yeah, again, I mean, Aryan is hoping to get a slight advantage, but it's really not much. Okay, I feel like maybe Shelev is a little bit worse as Luka manages to achieve that central pawn break with pawn to e5. Queen b5 looks a little bit off, if I'm being very honest. Nicolosi looking approximately even, but he's up on time. Batsurn maybe a little bit better there with Black, as he has a nice bishop pair to work with.
Could we take a look at Shelev's game?
Yeah, let's have a look. So, wait. Yeah, so he opened up with his Jobava London against Luka. And now we see a6. So the queen on b5 is under attack. Maybe he's going to go to b3 to hit that pawn on d5. But I don't like him dancing around with the queen.
Yeah, it's not exactly what you want to do in an opening. You've heard this like opening principle advice, try not to move your pieces a bunch of times. That's mainly because you need to develop, you need the momentum in the first couple of moves.
All right, so let's see. The pawn on d5 is under attack. It's not easy to defend. And maybe Luka can go bishop e6, because look at this. If you take the pawn on b7, Black might have knight a5. He goes e4 instead, hitting the knight. I guess the knight will jump back to d2. But I think the line still applies. If Black goes bishop e6 and you take, then, no, wait, sorry. Not rook b8, but knight a5, attacking the queen. Queen b4, rook b8, queen a4, bishop d7, and the queen is trapped. But he goes back to g1, which looks odd, but he wants to go to e2 and f4 perhaps to pressure the pawn on d5 that way.
That does make sense, and then you can have at least a little bit more of an attacking position, and I guess you don't have to worry about castling right away. He still might want to decide where he wants to castle, though it's probably going to be maybe kingside here. Queenside looks a little bit suspicious, although I guess it'd be aggressive, but I don't know. I would be a little scared to castle queenside if I were Shelev.
But knowing Shelev, he probably wants to do it. He probably wants to castle queenside. So knight e2, knight f4, good move, hitting that pawn on d5, which is awkward to defend. And that's often the case with doubled pawns, that especially the most forward pawn is hard to defend. And that's what we see here, because there's no adjacent pawns that can defend it. Bishop e6 is a move. Taking on b7 looks risky. So let's see what Luka is going to do.
And you don't have to be super worried about that pin because you can always bring your bishop out to c4. But that reroute actually makes a lot of sense now. It looks good, and he tries to defend there with that queen to a5, but perhaps it is a little bit difficult.
All right, so we see queen c7. Good move by Luka defending the pawn on d6. Yeah, this queen on b4 still looks a little bit awkward to me. Shelev continues with bishop b2. What he could consider at some point is maybe to go like h4, g4, g5 to kick this knight away, because if the knight moves, this pawn on d5 starts hanging.
Yeah, that does make sense. This actually looks like a pretty decent position that's turned around, and I think it's all due to that knight rerouting on e2 to f4. So if he does have time to make some of these moves, it does turn out well, although you still have to say what exactly is White's plan, and can he do it in time?
All right, so g5, knight h5 by Shelov. He's having a slight advantage. So let's see how this one is going to develop. Okay, maybe h4, black might go g4, and your bishop is a little bit stuck. But look at pushing a lot of pawns. That could also backfire.
It could definitely backfire, because if you're pushing pawns, maybe you're going to open up your own king. And Shelov hasn't castled yet, so he can do those pawn pushes eventually, right?
Yeah, he goes bishop e2 again. His idea is to go h4, and he didn't want to allow g4 when his bishop was still on the h5 square, as it would be a little bit blocked in. So I like what he's doing. h4 is going to come next, and Luka's going to have to make a decision. I mean, h6 will open up the h-file, and g4 might give White a nice blockade. So overall, I like what Shelov is doing.
Yeah, it does look nice. You're really going to get those aggressive pawn pushes. Maybe if you're lucky, you can open up this h-file, although maybe he'll just solidify with I don't know, f3, g4, something of the sort. And then it gets a little bit complicated because your bishop doesn't have a great place to go.
Right, okay, we saw h4 by Shelov. The computer did not like that because of f3, but instead look at traits on e3 and goes g4. Oh, queen b3, that's a nice move, because how do you defend this pawn? Bishop b6 runs, then knight takes e4. Shelov, the tricky player that he is, I'm sure he's looking at it.
Oh, he has to be, and he has a minute and 38 seconds, so he's keeping a good time, although he is 30 seconds down, but he's got to be calculating that. That is a good thing to calculate, because not only is the king side open, all these tactics start to work when the king side is vulnerable like this.
Yeah, and he is locked in. I think he misses it. He goes queenside castles. All right, so now bishop b6 would be a good move for Luka, as pointing out by the computer, defending everything. And right now, I'm not liking Shelov's chances. He is down on the clock, maybe a little bit worse. Still, anything can happen. But that clock disadvantage is a little bit worrisome.
That is true, and I mean that rook on f8 is doing a lot of defending, because you can't even rook lift on the f-file now, and there's no real way to take advantage of any sort of kingside vulnerabilities.
Right, so let's go back to the bird's eye view and see what's happening in the other games. So board one is looking pretty even between Ariantari and Robby, but Robby having a big lead on the clock. That could maybe still give him some chances, as he has also the more active king. Batsurn, oh, that game just ended in a draw. Then the game between Batsurn is a little bit better against Antipov, but down on time. And Kacharava perhaps a little bit better against Ishik, and Ishik also getting low on time. So let's see if SLU can take the lead here.
They might be able to. We'll see if they're able to hold on to their lead here. But I think when you get down on time, it is really tough, especially against a player like Antipov. I mean, being down on time, even when you have a little bit of an advantage against such a solid player, could be very, very difficult for Batsuryn.
Right, and so Nicolosi just traded off his bishop for the knight. I mean, this should be a draw with best play, but overall, I feel like Ishik is slightly better practically, because he's the only one with a pass pawn.
Let's take a look at Antipov's game. It's important to note that both players are 2 out of 2. They've been performing very, very well, not just this game, this season. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Oh, well, it looks like they agreed to a draw, so never mind. And that means we only have 2 more games remaining in this round.
Yeah, and again, okay, so let's see what's going to happen. Shelov just made a mistake, queen b3. Maybe Luka can just take the pawn on h4, and Ishik also pushing for the win because he has that pass b pawn that he's simply going to push down the board. Let's see, this is a critical moment for the match. We might even see Mizzou overtaking the lead here.
Wow, that would be crazy. And it is a critical moment. It could be decided, not in this round, but the momentum could decide next round as well.
Right, okay, so Luka also getting low on time, both players around 40 seconds. Let's see if he's going to take the pawn on h4. Well, that's going to hang this pawn over here, which leads to very double-edged play. Luka getting low on time. Okay, he takes on h4. Shelov takes g7. Yeah,
Oh. Well, I mean, you have to avoid that fork.
Maybe knight here? You let black take here, but then you take on d7 might be an idea.
Yeah, that could be an idea because then the bishop is going to have to waste a move going back. Perhaps you can move rook h1, and then there's that vulnerable h-pawn.
I don't like rook h1. He's staying in this pin a little bit too long. Queen, oh, that's a great move for Luka. If then you take the knight, then queen f2. This game is certainly heating up. Is he going to find queen f7?
Did you just see his face? He's just like, he looks very overwhelmed with the position right now, and he doesn't have any time. That's why I said you don't want to get a little down on time here. 15 seconds, but just defending his knight there seems like a little bit of a concession, but both players are so down on time. It will just be who is the better blitz player.
Right now, Luka can take on g2, but maybe Shelov can take on h5, takes and take on b7. He goes bishop b2 instead, but now Luka has two connected passers on the queen side, but he's low on time. Let's see if he can put this one away.
Yeah, when you're low on time, going for those tactics is a little bit difficult, and now all of a sudden, Shelov's king looks exceptionally vulnerable, and he's making moves and shaking his head. Like, that is not what you want to be doing. He has to continue to fight on. There are chances here.
Yeah, he's fighting, and look at Luka's clock. He's down to 4 seconds. Check. Maybe take on e4. Okay, what is going on? Rookie, a good move by Luka. Maybe take on d5. This is rook f1, creating a pin. This is far from over.
It is far from over, but this is a very, very scary position, and he does it. Rook f1, creating a pin. Luka only has 5 seconds. He has to move. He must know his time.
Rook, queen e3, queen e3, but he misses it. What? Dude, what was that?
Oh.
Shelov misses the win, but it's still anyone's game. 3 seconds. c4 maybe?
Oh, he can't get too low on time. He's playing a little too passively. He has to take advantage of his opponent's time difference.
Now Luka's just winning as he's trading everything off. So Luka's probably going to win this game, but there's a lot of action in the other game. Anything can happen still over there. As well, Jules, we have to go to that game. It's insane.
Let's do it. Let's take a look.
Right. So we see that 4 queens on the board, but white is checkmating. This is huge for the match. This would keep the lead for SLU. How do you do it?
Is this a It's not quite a ladder mate because you can defend, but there's got to be something here.
Queen b3 though. It's not over yet. Queen d4. There's got to be something. Queen f5. Just keep giving checks.
And the thing is, you can't really trade off both pairs of queens because you have that passed pawn. So that would be a winning endgame.
Oh, look at this. Queen b6, king c1, queen e3 maybe. Okay, goes queen f4. Take. Okay, you have to take with the king. Only move, which is what he does. Check. Okay, king here. Where's the win for white? c1 maybe?
Trade off, perhaps?
It's saying that this is a table-based win because maybe it thinks you can win with the f-pawn, but good luck winning that. Wow,
I'm wondering if you could have brought your king to... Yeah, this is still... I know it says it's a win. It says it's some sort of mate, but I still think it's anyone's...
This is a super difficult win. Isn't king d1 a threefold? And yeah, so look at that big escape for Ishik as it's now all tied up going into the final round. I mean, that's a huge save for Mizzou.
And that was an accidental threefold for sure. Like that was not on purpose. And it does happen. Sometimes you forget the positions that you've been in, has spoken from experience. But that means that I think we're all tied up, no?
Yeah, we're all tied up. So it's anyone's match going into the final round.
Wow, okay. That is crazy. And as we see, great performance from Antipov. Robby Kevlishvili has been doing very well as well. Batsurin carrying 2.5 out of 3. I don't know. Round 4, it could be anyone's match. This is so exciting. We're going into the last round, unless there's tie breaks, of course. Will someone be able to take a lead? Who will win, SLU or Missouri? I think right now it's anyone's guess.
It really is. But the trend is in Mizzou's favor. They started down 3-1, but every round they have been able to come back by a point. So let's see if SLU can change the trend of this match. And yeah, really anything can happen. But yeah, some big results there at the very end that keeps Mizzou fully in this match.
Yeah, they did have a good round. I think it will be interesting because all the boards are playing their boards. So we have Robby versus Mikhail, Batsurin versus Aryan, Nicolosi Luka, Shelev, Izik. I think it'll be incredibly interesting. Plus, SLU has the white pieces in their board 1 and board 2. That might be a slight advantage there.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. I mean, the players must be nervous. The championship is on the line. Last season, it was over before the last round, but now it's all tied up. I mean, this is as close as it gets. Maybe we'll see overtime, seeing how closely these two teams are matched.
It is possible. And I see someone in chat said when they coach baseball, they would tell the kids to nod when they felt like shaking their heads. I mean, you do see it. Sometimes the players shake their heads and then all of a sudden their position starts to fall apart more. You just can't give up. You have to keep fighting. And we see a Sicilian. I wonder if he's going to go into an open Sicilian or maybe a Rosalimo.
All right, I feel like Robby is gonna do the No, he goes c3, taking the game into a delayed Alapin. So let's see what Antipov is gonna do. He can go d5, knight f6 also may move. The good thing is at least that Antipov is thinking for a little bit.
All right, e5. So maybe here. This is my line, so I should know it. I guess I'm getting tested here. I'm prepping for a tournament coming up, so I really should know my lines a little bit more. But I know eventually you're gonna want to castle, maybe go for a central break. What do you think is the main plans here for White? You know, asking for a
Knight g5 looks
friend.
very interesting by Robby, going for a kind of the late fried liver. So d5, knight takes d5 by Antipov, because I guess here taking on f7 and queen f3 is not as good. Again, Antipov starts blitzing out moves, and the evil bar is already slightly in black's favor, so he's probably well aware of all the intricacies of this line.
Yeah, he definitely has been highly prepared for pretty much everything. I think he probably has the best prep we've seen this entire season. And that's been paying off. As we said, he has one of the best scores.
All right, so the game on board 2 has also lifted off. There we see I think they started off with an English. Very interesting stuff. Batsurin gambiting the pawn on c4, but if you take it, White can go e4, build a big center. And on board number 3, we also see super sharp stuff. Luka sacrificed the pawn in the opening, but look at those dark squares. They're super weak around the black king. A funny move here, by the way, is the move bishop f8, because you cannot take the bishop because of queen e8 checkmate. Bishop d6 also move. One thing that is in Kucherava's favor is that Luka is thinking, and that's often not a good sign in such a sharp position.
Thinking not a good sign in sharp position, noted. But honestly, yeah, you can take your time. And all of a sudden you could get low on time, and then in a sharp position it can fall apart. We've seen that happen several times in CCL, also in this match particularly. And yeah, I don't know. And then okay, in Shelev's board, sorry, what was that? Was that
I think it was probably a French, but Shelev doing some provocative stuff with a knight c6, e7 maneuver. I don't know how I feel about this. Izik is looking to build up an attack. He goes queen e2, and I think he will try to follow up with queenside castles.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, which is probably was Shelev's idea too, by opening that file. But all of a sudden, that file being opened, if you have a queenside castle, you can't really do much with it.
All right, so really one game that's super sharp is the game between Nicolosi and Luka. We can go to that game. We see again that Nicolosi is up a pawn, but White has pretty good compensation. He has the bishop pair, a slight lead in development. So let's see what Luka is going to do. But yeah, so here's the thing. I think thinking in a bad position is not like necessarily a bad thing. It was more that it's a sharp line and he didn't know the continuation, right? That's often not a good sign. Let's see, bishop d3 on the board. I guess queen g4 here. And then if you can trade off one of these bishops or bring in your pieces, you're doing pretty well for black. So the onus really here is on Luka to prove the compensation, and that is why he's spending quite a bit of time.
Right, and there's not a very easy way to save your bishops and save all your pieces, especially, you know, these pawns could start to advance. So you have to be a little bit careful there. At the same time, maybe that knight on a6 will get back into the action eventually.
Yeah, it can jump back via the c5 square. Or through c7. So I like Nicolosi's chances, simply because Luka has to prove the compensation. If you just make some random moves, black will be up a pawn with a good position. And queen c2 is not it. Bishop f5 looks very comfortable here for black, trading off a pair of bishops.
By the way, it looks like there's kind of a lot of action on the board 4 here, so maybe we want to take a look at that as well. That has kind of
Shalev is already lost. I mean, again, I did not like what he was doing in the opening, and he's lost. I mean, look at that 95 fantastic move by Izhik.
Oh my! Walk us through that.
Right, because if you take the knight, white's going to recapture with the queen, threatening checkmate on b8, and you also hit the rook. And if you go queen e8, white takes on f7. So it looks like Shalev is going down, which is huge for Mizzou. They might be taking an early lead in the final round.
He's going down. He's yelling timber. What can you do? But yeah, that looks really nice. And actually, the tactics don't work. So it'd be interesting if that bishop wasn't on f4. Maybe when you take the rook, you would have like bishop h6 check, and you could at least gain back a little material. But everything is so well protected. What a great move!
Yeah, fantastic move by Izhik. And Shalev's opening approach, it looked a little bit too provocative, and he walked right into this trap. Yeah, I think he's just lost. I don't see a good way to keep the game going. I think he's going to lose, so he is going to have to count on one of his teammates striking back, but it's not looking, yeah, this game is not looking good.
And if you go queen e8 trying to defend that pawn, you have the tactic where you just take the pawn anyway. Queen takes and you lose your queen with bishop takes e6. That is super nice as well. So, I don't know. This move is very tricky. You're at least winning a pawn, maybe with a fork. Probably, yeah, with a fork. So Shalev cannot be happy.
Yeah, I think he's not just winning a pawn. I think and Shalev's entire position is collapsing. I think he has to go for something like queen d6. No, but knight f7 is just
Will we
GG.
see it?
I think he had to go queen d6, knight g6, give up the queen for 2 minor pieces, which looks bad, but now knight f7 is almost resignable.
Yeah, you're at least losing a rook. Your position's falling apart. Look at that, like, vulnerable king. Oh, and you can see it on his face. This is not great. 4Player Chess, thank you for reading Chess.com. I appreciate it.
All right, so I think Shalev is going to lose. Perhaps we can go back to the bird's eye view to see what's happening in the other games, as we have a lot of action.
We do have a lot of action. Let's take a look. And this is round 4, so it could all be decided in this round. Looks like Antipov has a slight lead against Robby. That is a very sharp game as well. Very exciting. All these games are incredibly sharp. I think they brought their most calculating chess right now.
Right, it looks like Antipov is crushing it. Look at that move f4, attacking the bishop on e3. And if you take with the pawn or the bishop, Antipov is going to sacrifice the exchange because they will open up the diagonal. You will not be able to defend h2, so I think that is giving him a crushing attack. And Arjan is also better with the black pieces. He's up a pawn. So if Izhik wins, Antipov wins, and Arjan wins, the match would be over.
Should we take a look at Antipov's game?
Yeah, let's have a look. I mean, this is looking rough for Robby. Rook takes f4, double exclam. He's blasting open this diagonal. And I don't see how you can keep things close here.
That is beautiful. This is like the round of some beautiful chess we're seeing. Lots of brilliancies.
Yeah, I don't know what Robby should do here. It's looking bad. It's looking bad. I mean, I don't know. This is not looking good for him. The good news for SLU is that Nicolas is doing well with the black piece against Luca, but all of his teammates are in bad positions. So, I don't know. It might just be Mizzou clinching it.
Yeah, I guess the best thing you could do is try to defend, maybe bringing your bishop in or just some sort of defense, but it still feels like that is just dead. By the way, B-Dubs, thank you so much for gifting 5 Tier 1 subs to my community. I really appreciate it. That is very nice of you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I don't know. This position looks pretty donezo. And Antipov, yet again, just absolutely killing it. He's on 2.5 out of 3. I don't know. He might be one of the most solid players in the league this season.
Right, and we missed it. But look at, he is losing against Nicolosi, and he was saying some words, probably, not the happiest words, as, yeah, he's just in a completely losing position. But the good thing for him is that his teammates are doing the job. I mean, Antipov is crushing it. Tari is better. Izhik is crushing it. It's looking really tough for SLU right now.
It is looking tough for SLU, and after such a strong start as well. But that's what you were talking about with the momentum. They've been coming back a point every single round, and that adds up.
I think the critical game of this round is going to be the game between Batsurin and Arjan Tari. I mean, this game is far from over, but it's looking really tough for Robby. Shalov is going down against Ishik. So if Aryan at least gets a draw in that game, that would clinch the match. But perhaps let's go first back to bird's eye view.
Yeah, let's take a look, because this is the moment, guys. This is the moment we've all been waiting for, to see what happens. I mean, yeah, Nicolosi pretty much has that point, although I've said that before and jinxed it. Shalov's king is doing something there. I don't even want to know how the king ended up there.
Well, so Shalov, he is down the exchange, and the only rook that he has is a little bit stranded on a5. So this is looking terrible for him. I think he's going to lose. Nicolosi is winning on board number 3, as he can now pick up a bishop on b4. But, you know, Luka might still have rook d7, so it's not completely over yet. Aryan is doing great on board number 2, and Antipov is doing great on board 1. So I don't know. This looks really tough for SLU.
I think we should take a look at Tari's game here.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that one is going to be critical. If Aryan wins, I think the match is practically over. So let's see if he can do it. He's up 2 pawns, but we might be getting into a time scramble.
That's what I was looking at. With a time scramble, as long as there's a lot of pieces on the board, it can be tricky. It just depends on whose position is a little easier to play. And obviously right now that's Aryan's position, but he still has to be able to follow through with it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see what's going to happen. Aryan getting low on time. Knight b8, that looks kind of passive. Okay, now let's see what Botsurin is going to do. By the way, some huge developments in Robby's game. Can we pull out the bird's eye view to show what's going on over there? Robby is completely turning that one around. Look at that. Antipov down to a second, and Ilbar slipped around.
How did that happen?
If Robby wins that one, that is huge for the match. That is huge. We might be looking at tiebreaks here. Robby is up a few pawns. Antipov down to seconds. Robby has to win this game.
This could save the entire match for SLU if Robby can win this. And also Antipov just does not have the time right now to follow anything up. And you see it, he's a little bit nervous there. And he was completely winning before.
Right, but he's fighting on with just seconds on his clock. This game is far from over, especially against a strong GM like Antipov. But Robby is up a few pawns. Let's see if he can put this one away. He has to. Oh,
he's up a few pawns.
Also fighting back, by the way.
Wow, so actually it could go any way. We literally have seen everything turn around in the last couple of seconds, which is why time scrambles can be so dangerous.
Yeah, you have to manage your time well, keep time on the clock for these critical moments. F4, wait, isn't that hanging a pawn? And Antipov takes it. Wait, some interesting stuff happening. Maybe bishop f5, but there's still h6. He goes rook f1. Anything can still happen.
Yeah, it's still anyone's game there, but he looks so nervous. And I think Robby knows this is what he needs to do. Oh.
Knight f1, that's looking passive. Rook f2. Antipov could still win this game. I mean, rook takes a2. Yeah, just pick up a free pawn. Robby is throwing this one.
Yeah, and he has that passed pawn, but it's not quite...
Robby's now down a pawn. He has to fight for the draw.
Yeah, maybe if you try to hold that passed pawn, but you have to be very careful. If you lose that pawn, I think it's just over.
Look at the white king go. Maybe c5. Robby can still win. I mean, he's having the more active king and the further advanced pawns, and 7 seconds for Antipov.
Yeah, and this is actually very difficult to play here as black, but you have to make sure you're catching all these pawns in time. Probably you want to bring your bishop to d5, which he just does. So if that pawn goes down to a2, you can just snatch it out, but be careful of these knights.
Right, super tricky stuff here. King c4, attacking the knight, maybe just knight e6. We might see a repetition here. Knight b3, king b6 perhaps to go for the win. Robby goes for it. Anything can happen here.
Oh, and Aryan won his game.
So Mizzou is having the lead.
So this is critical. This is where it could get decided, which is honestly prophetic because these are the board ones.
Yeah, okay, wait. So let's see, knight e6 check. That looks annoying to deal with.
Oh my.
No,
it would be mate.
E6 you take. What is e6? What is e6? And yeah, Antipov is completely winning now.
Oh no!
Over. Or
I just heard that Shalov lost as well. Oh no, and now there's going to be a promotion coming. You can give up your bishop and you'll be able to promote. Oh, this is something.
And look at Robby. He knows he's blown it. He is low. Yeah, and Antipov wins his game. I think that's the match. That's the match.
That's the match. Wow, and that means Mizzou is, in fact, the champions. And SLU, who
Nicolas-
hasn't lost for a long time, their streak comes to an end.
Right, so Mizzou clinches it all. Nicolosi wins his game, but it's not enough.
Not enough. And that is huge for Mizzou. They have not won in a while, and you see it on Robby's face. This was so important to SLU. They were not able to do it, but Mizzou must be celebrating right now.
Yeah, they must be ecstatic. They probably just realized now that they've won the match with 9-7, and it's really their board one Antipov that led them to victory. He scores 3.5 out of 4. Great job by him. Very up and down game against Robby that Robby should have won at some point.
Do you have a game review you want to show us?
Absolutely, yes. So one game that gave Mizzou an early lead in the final round was the game between Ishik and Shelev, and that really put them in a good position to clinch the match. So it started off as a French defense, and Shelev traded on e4 and played knight f6, already a risky approach. Now played the move knight c6, bishop c4, so Ishik developing his pieces, Shelev doing the same thing. But again, it all looks a little bit fragile, what Shelev is doing. We saw bishop b5, provoking c6 as now the bishop on b7 is a little bit blocked in. But this also set a very nasty trap, as Shelev here played queenside castles. Looks completely natural, but this allowed the move knight to e5. Fantastic move by Ishik, attacking the queen on d7. And the point is, if you take the knight, there's queen takes e5, threatening checkmate on b8, and the rook on h8, and black is completely lost. So instead, after knight e5, Shelev played queen e8, but this allowed knight takes f7. Look at this, because if you take the knight, there's bishop takes e6, with a double attack on the king and the queen, and white's completely winning as well. So Shelev played knight d5, but now he's just down a rook. He tried to fight on, but it was just really not enough. And eventually Ishik was able to win the game, and with that win the championship for Mizzou.
Congratulations to Mizzou. That is huge. They're going to be celebrating tonight. We have an interview coming up, so stay tuned. Stick with us. We'll be back right after this break.
Do you think you're a better chess player than me?
Oh, we're starting. Oh, wow. You're just throwing it right back to me. Yes, unequivocally. I think I'm a better chess player than a lot of people who I'm not higher rated than.
Seen a lot of increase in blood pressure.
Okay. I'm staring over there to see the answer. Okay.
Does that mean...
This is good.
Does that mean...
I mean, there's a little deception indicated.
Oh, wow. I don't even know I'm lying.
Okay.
That's a deeper problem.
I think you're trying to pump up yourself, maybe.
Oh, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm probably just probably scaring me.
Yeah. Would you rather be competing in events than covering them?
No.
You love covering them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's truthful.
Have you ever considered quitting your chess creator career to pursue another career?
Maybe, but not anytime soon.
But you have thought about it?
Yeah, of course.
Truthful.
Have you ever pretended to know a celebrity, even though you've never actually met them?
No, I don't think so. Why would I ever do that?
I don't know. Just asking.
Don't see anything there.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good enough.
Maybe. I don't know.
There you go. I love it. Are you afraid to chess box?
Yes. Yes. Depends on the... Yes.
Do you like Andrea Botez?
Yes. A little bit. I mean, you know, just not terrible.
What, is he lying on that?
Well, not when he says he's not terrible.
It's so good.
It's not terrible. Actually, you know,
Okay.
could be worse people.
Do you ever get your feelings hurt by YouTube comments?
Never.
Truthful on that.
Do you ever get your feelings hurt by any social media comments toward you?
No, not really.
A hanging piece is simply a piece that is under attack and can be freely captured, winning material. If you don't hang your pieces and you capture the ones your opponent hangs, you will win most of your games as a newcomer to Chess.com. Related to hanging pieces is an important term, LPDO, loose pieces drop off. It's one of the most helpful phrases in tactics. It's a reminder to keep your pieces defended and to keep an eye out for undefended pieces in your opponent's camp.
Gotta move.
Oh,
no more checks.
Oh, and what's happened there?
What happened?
We see a reaction. Magnus is mouse. Oh No!
A hanging checkmate is similar to a hanging piece. It is just a checkmate that your opponent has not defended against. Like this time, that Hikaru hung checkmate against Magnus, but Magnus didn't see it.
Oh my god.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Mate is in 4 moves from the position in front of you. Don't move until you figure it out in your head. Don't look at me for a hint.
I can't do it without moving the pieces.
Yes, you can. Clear the lines of men in your head, one at a time, and the king will be left standing alone, like a guy on a street corner. I'll make it easier for you.
What was that about?
I thought it would help.
How does that help?
You know, visualization and stuff.
I'm not picking up the pieces.
Sometimes you don't need to do anything crazy to get better. You just need to reassess your chess. I'm Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, and I'm presenting Jeremy Silman's How to Reassess Your Chess now on Chessable. So go to chessable.com/yourchess and start reassessing your chess today.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to CCL. Huge congratulations to Mizzou, who just won the season. And we are here with their board 2, Aryan Tari. Hi, Aryan. So are you allowed to tell us how you're going to celebrate tonight with your team?
We have actually not planned anything special. I'm sure we'll figure something out. But yeah, it was a thriller. It was a very, very close match until the end. I mean, it was 6-6 before the last game, so anything could happen. Yeah, definitely some nerves. My opponent blundered his queen in the last game, so it was like a nice payback because our board Ishik, he blundered his queen in a winning position, so it was like even Steven there.
Yeah, congratulations, Aryan, on winning the championship. And what do you guys do as a team to get ready as players? And did your coach, Christian Kurila, tell you guys anything before the match?
No, I mean, I just try to say some motivating words. Yeah, just.
What were those motivating words? If you don't mind sharing.
No, I mean, just like try to sleep well and have energy for these games. I mean, obviously in blitz, anything can happen, and there's a lot of blunders, mouse slips, and yeah, you never know what to expect. But yeah, you just have to try to have energy and do your best.
And I know the team had a little bit of a tough start to the season. What do you think turned it around?
Yeah, I think we lost the 2 first matches, I believe. So yeah, that was a bit of a rough start. Then we tried to reset, and we needed to win some matches to get our confidence back. Yeah, I didn't play so well in the start, but then I got the rhythm going. But yeah, it was not easy.
Right, and like I said, it was a very close match. You guys actually were down after the first round and then managed to come back slowly but surely. What were your feelings going into the match, and were you guys ever nervous at any point when you guys were down?
Yeah, I mean, I lost the first game and then we were down 3-1, so that's a big that was a big blow, and like it's not easy to come back being down 2 points. So I would say after the first match we were underdogs, but once it was only like 3.5, 4.5. We were down 1 point. I thought it's a very good chance to come back. So every round we made the gap closer. Yeah, so it was an unlucky start because our last board was completely winning, and then he blundered his queen. He made a mouse slip there, so we got a 0 instead of 1. So that was a big change, but luckily he managed to reset and come back, because it's hard to reset after a start like that.
And how do you feel winning your very first CCL season?
I'm very thrilled, of course. It's probably the biggest win of my career, so I'm have to find a very special way to celebrate.
Right, and SLU has actually won the last 3 seasons in a row. Are you guys also looking to win a few championships now?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully with me in the team, I can contribute to some more wins. Yeah, we have a strong team. Mikhail Antipov has been very strong. I think he's the top scorer. Won many games. He's been very convincing in these matches. So yeah, we have a good team. It will be interesting to see how we do OTB as well.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Again, a huge congratulations to you and your team. I hope you have a lot of fun celebrating. I think it's going to be great, and best of luck for next season.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. See you.
Well, Ben, that was a lot of fun and a huge win for Mizzou. Again, a huge congratulations for Mizzou breaking SLU's records. So I think we have a lot to look forward to next season.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it was great to hear from Arjan and his thoughts. And yeah, no, I'm already looking forward to next season. I mean, this one was an absolute thriller. The final match went all the way down to the wire. I mean, we really could not have asked for more.
We really couldn't have. It was a great match. Thank you so much for joining us all season. It's been amazing. I'm your host, Jules Gambit. This is my co-host, the amazing Grandmaster Benjamin Bach. Give him a follow. He is fantastic. And once again, congratulations to Mizzou. We will see you next season.